Chapter 832. Is that so? Although he had heard of it before, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed when he heard it again. After all, this thing could increase one's cultivation and could even reach the holy realm. Lin Ray believed that even if it wasn't him, no one would be able to resist the temptation of this thing. In fact, for the sake of this sacred eye, there might even be a bloodbath. All right, I'll leave it to you to decide what to do with it. I'll take my leave. All right, you don't have much time left for the 100-year mission. So, hurry up and finish up your business here, then leave. After speaking, without waiting for Linley to reply, he disappeared, entering a state of silence. Lin Ray felt helpless at the system's reminder. He didn't want to think about it at first, but now that the system mentioned it, his time was tight again. Really, how long has it been since I came back? He complained, his face full of unhappiness. However, when he thought that if he couldn't complete it, he would lose his life. Suddenly, Lin Ray's fighting spirit was high, and he had an inexhaustible energy. Sigh. With a sigh, he shook his head and threw all the bad things to the back of his mind. His attention was once again focused on the sacred eye that was locked in the air before the new year. Looking at it, Lin Ray's expression was full of passion. With you, I will have a sage as my subordinate. This way, when I reach the holy realm, there might be a little protection. Boom! After saying that, with a boom, a terrifying flame rushed out of his palm and jumped around in Lin Ray's hand like a fire spirit. It was very naughty, like a naughty child. Hey, unseal me. With a boom, a palm was sent towards the sacred eye. The moment it was sent out, the illusory spirit blood fire condensed in his palm rushed out and rushed towards the chain that locked the sacred eye. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. A blood-red light rushed out in an instant, and the path was very beautiful. In the space where the temperature was just right, the moment the illusory spirit blood fire broke through the air, the surrounding air began to heat up. As time passed, the surrounding temperature became hotter and hotter. At this moment, the entire space had become a large steamer, an extremely high-temperature oven. Walala, walala. Suddenly, the chains that felt the illusory spirit blood fire rushing towards them all began to tremble. The sounds of the chains colliding and shaking resounded in the space of the formation eye. If you're scared, then get out of here. I guarantee that I won't tear this formation apart. If you don't return, then, as he spoke, a murderous aura flashed in his eyes. If you don't return, I will destroy this place for you. You must believe that I have the strength to do so. Don't underestimate me. Otherwise, I won't be able to defeat you. Puff, puff. As he spoke, the illusory spirit blood fire had already reached the chain. Instantly, the illusory spirit blood fire near the chain suddenly separated, forming small fire dragons that began to coil around the chain and burn it. However, the illusory spirit blood fire seemed to have a spirit of its own. It didn't approach the sacred eye at all, as if it was afraid of burning the sacred eye. Kacha! A small hole suddenly appeared on the chain around the sacred eye's neck. As the hole broke, the other places that were burned by the illusory spirit blood fire also began to break slowly. Lin Ray sneered in his heart when he saw this scene. At this moment, he instantly activated the devouring heaven end. A terrifying suction force appeared on Lin Ray's palm. He didn't act rashly, but quietly waited for the chain to break completely. The moment the chain broke, he kept the sacred eye in the system. He made all the preparations, waiting for the moment when the chain broke. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, a few hours had passed, and more chains had broken. At this moment, there were no more chains left on the sacred eye. Aside from the one on the four limbs, the rest of the chains had basically all broken and turned into nothingness. Soon, I wonder if Bai Chi and the others are waiting anxiously for me up there. Although it was dark here, Lin Ray could feel that he had been here for at least 10 days. Moreover, this was a conservative estimate. Thinking of this, Lin Ray worked even harder. He immediately used his cultivation to increase the heat of the illusory spirit blood fire. Kacha! Another chain broke. Lin Ray was a little surprised by this, but he continued to work hard. While he was working hard, The purple jade pendant on the altar seemed to come to life and slowly shifted in the opposite direction of Linley, as if it was afraid that Linley would cause trouble for it after the sacred eye was unlocked. Lin Ray didn't know about this at all. At this moment, he only wanted to get the sacred eye quickly and leave with Bai Qi and the others. After all, his time was limited. He wasn't stupid to waste time in this place. To Lin Ray, time was more precious than anything else. Gotcha! Another chain broke. At this moment, only the chain on his hands was left. He would be able to completely store the sacred eye. At this moment, just as Lin Ray was getting excited, the system, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly spoke. Kid, hurry up, or the jade pendant on the altar will run away. What? Run away? He was confused. He was a little confused by the system's sudden information. It could even be said that he was a little confused. Go back and look at the altar. That thing is good for your cultivation. If it runs away, I won't care. Anyway, I've already told you. As for whether you want to listen or not, it's up to you. After saying this, the system fell silent again. In response to the system's words, Lin Ray rolled his eyes. He listened to the system's words while adding the illusory spirit blood fire. He turned his head and looked at the altar. This is? Turning his head, his eyes fell on the altar. At this moment, on the altar, a purple jade pendant was slowly moving in another direction as if it had grown legs. This scene fell into Lin Ray's eyes. Suddenly, Lin Ray was stunned. The only thing that came to his mind was, what's going on? It's become a spirit. Is it F*King playing with me? F*CK. What does this mean? He opened his mouth and nagged, but his face was full of an interesting smile. Lin Ray was very interested in a jade pendant that could move by itself. Thud, thud, thud. As though it could sense Linley's amused gaze, the cub sped up even further. As it sped up, a series of thumping sounds could be heard. Kacha, kacha. In an instant, two strange sounds were heard. The sacred eye was completely unsealed. Suddenly, a terrifying energy appeared in an instant. The energy was full of madness, and it made them want to surrender. F*CK. The moment this energy appeared, Lin Ray was stunned. Then, his face turned pale and his heart jumped. He immediately retracted his gaze and circulated all his cultivation, fully displaying the devouring heaven end. Puff! Puff! Suddenly, the devouring heaven end was fully displayed. Dozens of wash-basin-sized whirlpools appeared in front of Lin Ray. With the increase of power, the dozens of whirlpools under Lin Ray's continuous catalysis finally merged into one. Then, a huge whirlpool took shape, and a terrifying devouring power appeared in an instant. Suddenly, in the entire space, everything that could move began to rush toward the whirlpool in front of Lin Ray at full speed. The sacred eye, which had released a powerful aura before, felt this aura. The aura it released was like an injured rabbit at this moment. It was no longer as strong as before, and it even seemed to want to escape in an instant. As for the sacred eye, Lin Ray did not dare to let it out of his sight for a moment. When he felt the sacred eye's intention to escape at this moment, his face was suddenly filled with a cold smile. Trying to escape? Didn't you want to rush over and take over my body just now? Did you want to take over my body? Why don't you want it now? It turned out that after the sacred eye was completely released from the seal, it felt that Lin Ray's cultivation was weak and wanted to devour and possess him. However, it did not expect that a weak cultivator could use the devouring power that shocked and even made it tremble in fear. At this moment, it was afraid. The sacred eye was afraid. It wanted to escape from this place. Without the restriction of the seal, it would be easy to escape from this place. However, when it felt the suction force from the whirlpool, and at the same time, the suction force was firmly locked in place. It was already impossible for it to escape when it wanted to. No, I am Qiongqi. You let me go, and I will promise to give you my inheritance. How about that? At this moment, the sacred eye opened its mouth, and the first thing it said was to tempt Lin Ray. Qiongqi. Hearing the sacred eye's words, Lin Ray was stunned. He knew about Qiongqi. It was an ancient, ferocious beast that could swallow the sun and the moon. It was a king among the ferocious beasts. If it had been anyone else, they would have agreed immediately after hearing this. Unfortunately, the person he had met wasn't an ordinary person, but Linley, who had a system. Moreover, Paisho was also a ferocious beast and was much stronger than Qiongqi. If he wanted the inheritance, Lin Rei believed that Paisho would give it to him. So, looking at the sacred eye, Lin Rei sneered. His expression was full of contempt and disdain. So what if you are Qiongqi? It is just a dead thing. Do you think you are strong? Do you think your inheritance is important? Do you think I care? What? Seeing the look of disdain on Linley's face, Qiongqi was stunned. He was stupefied. He had never imagined that the person in front of him would be like this, so unexpected, such a headache. Moreover, the inheritance was its only bargaining chip. If it did not care about the inheritance, then so, come on. As he spoke, the suction force grew even stronger. Of all the things you shouldn't have done, the only thing you shouldn't have done is try to devour and possess my body. So disappear. Don't worry, I will not let you die so easily. I will erase your consciousness. After all, your sacred eye contains the essence of your life. The energy inside is enough to make me a saint. Qiongqi did not want to say anything to the person in front of it. It no longer thought of itself as a ferocious beast. Instead, it was more similar to this person in front of it. I beg you don't. I don't want to. I don't want to disappear. Please don't do this. Begging for mercy. At this moment, the only thing Qiongqi could think of was to beg for mercy because he had no other choice. Without a physical body, although his spirit was the essence of his cultivation when he was alive, his strength was still declining. Moreover, from the vortex that Lin Rei used, he felt the aura of death. He knew that if he was devoured by this resentful self, then only death would await him. Don't you think it's too late to beg for mercy? Listening to Qiongqi's pleas, Lin Rei sneered and gradually became disdainful. Halfway through, Lin Rei did not stop. Instead, the devouring force continued to increase. Little by little, Qiongqi was now very close to the devouring vortex. As long as he exerted more force, the Paisho would be sucked into the vortex, and his purpose of coming here would be completely over. Come on, don't resist. You have to leave in the end. After saying that, a strange seal appeared in an instant, and a blood-red flame appeared instantly. Finally, after jumping a few times on the tip of Lin Rei's finger, a hair-like needle appeared on the tip of Lin Rei's finger. I hope this consciousness destroyer formed by the illusory spirit blood fire can completely erase Qiongqi's consciousness without destroying the sacred eye. No, I don't want to disappear. I don't want to. Qiongqi, who could feel the strangeness of death from the needle, roared. Swish! He moved. The hand that had compromised with mind annihilation instantly waved toward the sacred eye that was close at hand. At the same time as Lin Rei swung his hand, the consciousness destroyer rushed out and rushed into Qiongqi's mind. Qiongqi let out a painful roar. But, as time passed, the roar became weaker and weaker until it finally disappeared completely. The sacred eye was completely lifeless. The sacred eye, which was struggling fiercely, had completely calmed down. It floated in midair and looked around in confusion. Looking at the changes in the sacred eye, Lin Rei smiled. Isn't this better? You even forced me to use the devouring sky end. Really? Knowing that Qiongqi's consciousness was completely destroyed, Lin Rei heaved a sigh of relief. He waved his hand, and a hand formed by spiritual energy instantly grabbed the sacred eye. With a thought, he kept it in the system. Phew! After doing all this, Lin Rei couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief and revealed a relaxed smile. Don't rest. Hurry up and replace that thing. Then we'll leave. There's nothing left for you to stay here. Just as Lin Rei was about to relax, the system's voice suddenly sounded. In an instant, Lin Rei's body tensed up and he nodded subconsciously. Got it. Chapter 833. At this moment, the violet jade-like I'd already reached the very edge of the area and was about to fall to the ground. Looking at it, Linley smiled, then took a step forward and instantly arrived next to it. Looking at it, he spoke. He looked at it and said, "Little guy, I won't mistreat you if you follow me." As he spoke, his divine consciousness entered the system and began to search for an item that could replace the jade eye. Previously, he had said that he wouldn't break the array here, so Lin Ray kept his word. At this moment, rows of heaven and earth treasures appeared in front of Lin Ray in the system's storage basket. Beside each heaven and earth treasure, there was a list of their names, uses, and what they were used for. This list only appeared when the system was upgraded to LV3. He stared at the storage basket and scanned the heaven and earth treasures on it, his face full of worry. Which one should I choose? This array has the ability to seal. What kind of heaven and earth treasure can be used to replace it? Thinking about this, Lin Ray felt troubled. All the things here were treasures of Lin Ray's collection. Each of them was priceless. Any random item that fell into the god realm would be an existence that would set off a reign of terror. The balance chain had the ability to seal, but if he were to replace the jade eye, the falling rain would be a little too ineffective. The sorcerer's pagoda, the most valuable treasure of the sorcerer's tribe. It can seal powerful spirits, so it must have the ability to seal. It's an item sought after by all the realms. TSK, no, it's too valuable. Looking at the heaven and earth treasures, Lin Ray either felt that they weren't qualified or were too valuable. They didn't fit Lin Ray's thoughts at all. Wong, however, just as Lin Ray was having a headache, a Wong sound came from the side. The sound was so loud that Lin Ray was shocked and turned his head to look. He saw a Tianmin appear before Lin Ray's eyes. It emitted a faint blue light, and at first glance, it gave people a sense of loneliness. Tianmin. Lin Ray was startled after seeing the strange appearance of Tianmin. Tianmin was no ordinary object. It was a sword, an incomparably sharp, treasured sword. It was an existence at the quasi-sage level. Moreover, in this Tianmin, there was the divine soul of a giant beast. Although its name sounded nice, it was undeniable that it was a ferocious sword that killed decisively. It was bloodthirsty, and blood would be spilled when it was unsheathed. However, it was also because of the effects of Tianmin that Lin Ray was puzzled. Why would an ominous sword without any sealing ability be humming at this time? He really didn't understand. No matter how he thought about it, Lin Ray could not understand why a ferocious sword would willingly become the eye of a formation. You want to become the eye of the formation here? Although Lin Ray was certain in his heart, he still couldn't help but ask. Wong. Upon hearing Lin Ray's question, Tianmin buzzed a few times as if it was saying, "Yes, I also want to become the array core here. Please agree, Master." Damn, it really is true? After receiving confirmation, Lin Ray was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled bitterly. Sigh. I originally wanted you to become that person's weapon and follow him into the Jiuqian City to make a name for yourself. This, although he felt a little regretful in his heart, since it had agreed, Lin Ray had nothing else to say. All right. Although there was a slight flaw in letting Tianmin become the array core, in the end, Lin Ray still nodded in agreement. Since you want to become the array core here, this sovereign agrees. After saying that, he reached out and sucked Tianmin. Tianmin instantly disappeared from the storage basket. When it reappeared, it was naturally tightly held in Lin Ray's hand. Wong. When the sword entered his hand, a shocking sword aura instantly rushed out. The humming of the sword instantly rushed out from Tianmin and resounded through the space. TSK. Good sword, but what a pity. After sighing with regret, his gaze fell on the purple jade eye with determination. Looking at the purple jade eye, Lin Ray smiled slightly. Then, he reached out and activated the devouring sky hand. In an instant, he rushed into the magnetic field around the jade eye. He grabbed the jade eye in one hand. The moment he picked it up, his other hand rushed into the magnetic field at a speed invisible to the naked eye and replace the jade eye. The moment the jade eye was replaced with Tian Min, the entire array on one side violently shook. Cracks appeared under Lin Rei's feet, as if it was about to collapse in an instant. However, Lin Rei's actions were fast. After the replacement, the array immediately started operating again. However, the level of the array seemed to have dropped a little at this moment. It fell from the original saint level to the current saint level. There was a smug look on his face, and his heart was filled with a sense of accomplishment. However, when he felt that the array's level had dropped, Lin Rei's heart was filled with regret. TSK. What a pity. A perfectly good saint-level spell formation was turned into... With that, Lin Rei did not continue. Because of the drop in the array's level, Lin Rei always felt a little guilty. A sense of guilt welled up in his heart. Suddenly, the jade eye in his hand suddenly emitted a cold aura, instantly swallowing up the guilt in Linley's heart. Linley was naturally able to sense this anomaly very clearly. Linley was overjoyed. Lowering his head to take a look, he raised his hand, only to see a violet jade eye lying quietly in his palm. At this moment, the jade-like eye emitted a faint purple light that enveloped Linley's palm. At the same time, there was a strange coldness that constantly emanated from the jade-like eye and continuously entered Linley's palm, causing it to spread throughout his entire body. This energy only made Lin Rei feel comfortable and warm. There was not a trace of discomfort. What exactly is this jade eye? It can absorb people's emotions. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He could not help but sigh at the jade eye's ability. I told you before that this thing is useful to you. Moreover, it is a complete treasure. You must not let someone stronger than you obtain it. Otherwise, the world will be in chaos. Suddenly, just as the system was sighing, the system suddenly spoke, catching Lin Rei a little off guard. Hearing this, Lin Rei could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. His face was filled with shock and confusion. He was shocked that the system had placed this jade eye in such a high regard. He was also confused because he could not understand how this jade eye could, as the system said, create chaos in the new world. Hey, don't doubt me. This thing really works. The system could read Linley's mind and laughed. If not, you can inject this blood essence into the jade eye. Then you'll know if I'm telling the truth. Although he still did not believe it and felt that this was a trap, but subconsciously, Lin Rei used all his strength to force out a drop of his essence blood. Finally, it fell on the jade eye. Boom! Rumble! Suddenly, the sound of thunder resounded through the sky. Even Lin Rei, who was halfway up the mountain, could hear the rolling thunder outside. Damn, it can't be. Hearing the sound of thunder, Lin Rei was startled. He looked up at the sky in confusion. Unfortunately, this was a spell formation space. Looking up was the spell formation. Press the jade eye to the center of your forehead. At this time, the system spoke again. Although he knew that this could be a trap, he still listened to the system and pressed the jade eye to his forehead. A roar resounded through the entire spell formation space. His face was full of proof. Then, with a plop sound, he knelt on the ground. He pressed one hand to his forehead and the other to the ground. His face was pale and ferocious. He looked like an evil spirit of the world, causing people to tremble in fear. How can there be so much information? It's like a tidal wave surging towards my Bohai Sea. At this time, Lin Rei spoke with difficulty. His voice was full of shock and disbelief. However, the pain was real. It came from his soul. It came from his head. Bear with it. Just as Lin Rei was in unbearable pain, the system's voice rang in his mind. The voice was full of expectation. It was as if it already knew about this beforehand. What's going on? This thing is... His eyes were swollen with pain. It was as if an ice blade had slashed across his eyes. This is kind of my technique. I originally thought that this kind of technique no longer existed in this world. But just before, when I felt the jade eye, I already knew that this thing still exists. As it spoke, the system seemed to be excited and spoke faster. As long as you can possess this eye technique, then it is equivalent to you possessing the seal. Bear with it. This pain is only temporary. As long as you get past this hurdle, you will gain endless benefits. After saying that, without waiting for Lin Ray to speak, and before Lin Ray could ask any questions, it disappeared without a trace. F*CK, I knew that you were up to no good. As expected, I was tricked again. Although the system said that it was chasing after him, in the end, wasn't it still painful? But, however, to be able to make the system so excited and to think so highly of it, Lin Ray was still secretly looking forward to it. Although it was painful before, as long as he got it, Lin Ray didn't feel that it was a bad deal. Hiss, but it really hurts. If the pain of the soul isn't what I'm looking for, then thinking about this, Lin Ray closed his eyes and struggled to support his body. He sat cross-legged, and his thoughts instantly entered his mind and began to explore the information that entered his mind. Eye seal, also known as the Eye of Seal. Once the Eye of Seal is used, all seals in time will become illusory and disappear like bubbles. The origin was unknown. The only thing that was known was that the first person who possessed the Eye of Seal was a supreme being who could seal everything in the world in the blink of an eye. In the dragon sky, there was always a person who possessed the Eye of Seal who could seal everything in the blink of an eye. It was the strongest eye technique of time. Hiss! After reading this information, Lin Ray couldn't help but gasp. His face was full of astonishment. The first person who possessed the Eye of Seal was a supreme being who could seal everything in the world in the blink of an eye. F*CK, this kind of strength. How strong must he be to be able to do this? However, compared to this, Lin Ray was more interested in the dragon sky. What exactly did the dragon sky refer to? World or space? Perhaps it was the name of a person or the existence of a secret realm. The pain continued, but facing the question that he wanted to know, this pain was nothing. System, come out and tell me what the dragon sky mentioned in the Jade means. System, come out, answer my questions. He roared at the system, but in the end, it was like a yak entering the sea. There was no reply. After half an hour, the system was still silent. Regarding this, Lin Ray understood that the dragon sky was an existence that he couldn't know about for now. Just like that, the system still didn't reply. Lin Ray gave up on asking and chose to remain silent, silently accepting the information that was transmitted to him by the Eye of Seal. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. At this moment, Lin Ray was sitting cross-legged in the spell space. His entire body was filled with a strange aura that made one's heart palpitate. Phew! Suddenly, Lin Ray exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His lips moved, and then his eyes slowly opened. When a ray of light shot out from the corner of his eyes and shot towards a spell formation not far away. Walala! Walala! Suddenly, numerous purple chains rushed out and began to extend. They began to climb upwards. Hee. Seeing this happen so suddenly, Linley was startled. But then, a smile appeared on his stunned face. Although I have just finished accepting the Eye of Seal, I have already reached the beginner realm. Although it is the lowest of the 9 realms, but this is enough. After receiving the inheritance of the Eye of Seal, the information showed that there were 9 realms in the Eye of Seal. They were beginner realm, nuance realm, small success realm, familiar realm, messen realm, great success realm, pinnacle realm, complete realm, and a never-before-seen 10th level pure realm. Of course, because no one had ever succeeded, the Eye of Seal was divided into 9 levels. The so-called 10th level was abandoned. It's time to go out. The purple light in his eyes disappeared and returned to normal. Then, he stood up and looked up. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. Then, he used the earth burrow technique. Both of his feet kicked off the ground, and he jumped up. Then, he disappeared from the space of the spell formation. At that moment, at the peak of the mountain, Bai Chi and the others who were waiting for Linley and the others were seated cross-legged. Their bodies were surrounded by a formless barrier, and they were quietly cultivating outside the barrier. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure rushed out from the mountain and landed not far away from Bai Chi and the others. It must have been hard on them. Looking at Bai Chi and the others who were cultivating, Lin Ray smiled. However, just as Lin Ray was feeling slightly guilty, Red Lotus, who was cultivating, felt something strange. She withdrew her aura and stopped cultivating. Then, she opened her eyes and looked up. Young master. At this moment, the person Red Lotus was looking at was their young master, Linley, whom they had been worried about. Chapter 834. Seeing Red Lotus suddenly awaken, Linley was startled. Then, he regained his composure and nodded towards her. Laughing, he said, "Right? I acquired a few things inside. Naturally, this trip to the Chinquin Sect is over." So, hearing this, Red Lotus nodded, "Understood. I will wake Bai Chi and the rest up now." She then closed her eyes and sent a message into the minds of Bai Chi and the rest. "Wake up. The young master has come out of seclusion. We have to go back." Huff huff. Suddenly, as soon as Red Lotus finished speaking, Bai Chi and the rest retracted their auras and stopped cultivating. When they opened their eyes, they were filled with joy. Raising his head, he looked at Linley. When he saw Linley standing not too far away, smiling calmly at them, Bai Chi was startled. He hurriedly rose to his feet and bowed respectfully. Bai Chi pays his respects to the young master. Kuagong Ming, Tianyin, greets the young master. With Bai Chi taking the initiative, everyone stood up and bowed respectfully to Lin Ray. Looking at them, Lin Ray was surprised. Then, he smiled. "All right, there are no outsiders here. You don't have to do this in the future. He is my trusted aide. This is an order. Remember?" "Yes." After hesitating for a while, Lin Ray did not have much hope for them to change. After all, they had been deeply imprinted in their minds by the system. Let's go. The matter here has been resolved. It is time for us to leave." Looking at everyone, Lin Ray said. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Then, their faces were filled with hesitation. This was especially so for Bai Chi. He wanted to say something, but stopped. How could Linley not know the expressions on everyone's faces, as well as Bai Chi's attitude? Looking at him, Lin Ray said, "What's the matter? If you have something to say, just say it. How can you still be called the god of war if you're so wishy-washy?" Hearing those words, Bai Chi froze for a moment before nodding his head. "Young master, it is true that we destroyed Chinquin Sect. However, Chinquin Sect is a huge sect with a long history. Now that the sect has been destroyed, their scripture depository and their heritage. I have never seen them before, so When Bai Chi said this, Lin Ray was stunned and speechless. He had thought that it was something big, but it turned out to be this. However, Bai Chi's words were not without reason. Furthermore, he also wanted to see just how deep the foundations of this ancient sect were. Furthermore, even if it wasn't for himself, for the sake of the sect, there was still a need for him to check out the resources of the Chinquin Sect. Thinking about it, Lin Ray nodded and said, "Okay, since that's the case, then go. Remember, if you find a dangerous place, you must not act on your own. Everything must be done under the condition that you ensure your own safety. Do you understand?" Yes, everyone's expressions were filled with excitement. Using their cultivation bases, they leaped into the air and sent out their divine senses, each of them rushing in a different direction. "TSK, I'm looking forward to it." Looking at the expressions on everyone's faces as they left, Lin Ray chuckled. His consciousness flickered as he spoke to the system. "System, come out and eat some instant noodles. Where's the most likely place for the hidden genius of Chinquin Sect to appear?" Ding! "Yes, master." At this time, the system did not appear, but the sound of the system notification appeared. Ding! "Beginning scanning. Please wait." Upon hearing the system notification, Lin Ray was taken aback. He nodded his head and stood on the spot without moving. However, he didn't stay idle as he extended his consciousness and enveloped the entire Chinquin Sect, from the 9 heavens to the 9 hells, as long as it was within the range of Lin Rei's consciousness. Even an ant that a child wouldn't be able to detect would be clearly visible in Lin Rei's mind. Time passed by slowly. From the deepest part of Qianquan's sect to the entrance of Qianquan's sect, Lin Rei scanned the entire place. But, to Lin Rei's disappointment, he couldn't find a single clue about the location of the treasures. In fact, Lin Rei couldn't even detect the slightest movement. Towards this, Lin Rei's mind was filled with doubt. He believed in his own consciousness. But now, he was starting to doubt it. At this moment, Lin Rei seemed to have forgotten that the system was still scanning. But, just as Lin Rei's brows were furrowed, the system notification rang in his mind. Hearing it, Lin Rei's heart leaped with joy. Ding! Discovered a strange area. It is emitting a dense amount of spiritual energy. Initial suspicions are that it is where Qianquan's sect keeps their treasures. Oh! Hearing this, Lin Rei was overjoyed. His voice became urgent. Where is it? Quick! Tell me, where is it? Ding! About 10,000 meters away from the entrance of Qianquan's sect. Wait for a moment. There is an indistinct sealing spell over there. It is of the honorable grade. If Master goes there, you can break it with a wave of your hand. Hearing the system notification, Lin Rei was stunned. But thinking that he had already left the location of the treasures, he didn't have a chance to do so. All right, that's it. Lin Rei wanted to cut off the connection with the system and rush towards the direction indicated by the system. Whoosh! His figure shot out and flew towards the direction of Qianquan's sect. His speed was extremely fast, but just as he took off, the system notification rang in his head. Ding! Searching for treasures in Qianquan's sect. 1,000,000 exchange points will be deducted from Master. Deal. As soon as the system notification rang out, Lin Rei staggered and almost fell from the sky. At this moment, Lin Rei's face turned slightly sour. He felt as though he had been cheated. He didn't expect the system to do this to him. Really, Ding? Deal? But at this moment, the system notification rang out again. He wanted to refuse, but as soon as he thought about the consequences of refusing, the possibility that he would be wiped out or have his life force reduced, Linley felt a sense of powerlessness fill his heart. In the end, the helpless Lin Rei could only nod his head in agreement. All right, deal, Ding. 1,000,000 exchange points have been deducted. With that, the system fell silent, as though it had sunk into a deep silence. Linley was speechless at this, but since he had already paid so much, if he didn't find the treasures in Qianquan's sect, he would have suffered a huge loss. And Lin Rei wasn't someone who would let himself be taken advantage of. Calming himself down, he disappeared in a flash. By the time he reappeared, he was already 10,000 meters away. After a few flashes, Lin Rei arrived at the location indicated by the system. He landed on the peak of the mountain. Looking at the beautiful scenery, Lin Rei chuckled. This bunch of old fogies sure know how to choose a place. To think that they wouldn't leave their treasures in the sect. Instead, they would place them in such a beautiful place. Respect. Here, there were mountains and rivers. The scenery was picturesque. It was simply a good place to retire. Scram. You made yours truly lose so many exchange points. If I don't get rid of all of you this time around, I'll have suffered a huge loss. After saying that, he didn't waste any more words. His divine sense instantly rushed out and shrouded the entire mountain under his feet. Just as his consciousness covered the mountain, Lin Fan sensed spiritual energy that was much denser than the outside world seeping out from the waist of the mountain. Sensing this, Lin Rei chuckled. His eyes flashed as he came to the place where the spiritual energy came from and sensed it with his heart. After closing his eyes for a few minutes, Lin Rei finally opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with panic as he smiled. Let's see if I can't find you this time around. Lin Fan raised his hand and clenched his fist. Channeling his cultivation base, he channeled his peak middle ultimate god cultivation base into his fist. Lin Fan shouted and punched towards the place where the spiritual energy seeped out from. There were two ways to deal with formations. One was to find the eye of the formation, but that would take a lot of time. Of course, the other way was to break it with brute force. That way, it would be much faster. Of course, only those who didn't know how to deal with formations would do that. At this moment, Lin Ray chose the second way because he didn't want to waste too much time here. Moreover, since the spiritual energy seeped out from this place, it meant that there were cracks in the formation. If he punched this place, the final result would be the formation breaking. Bam! A thunderous boom could be heard as his lightning-fast punch smashed into the mountain. However, at this moment, a strange scene occurred. Given Linley's power, there was no way this mountain would be able to withstand such a powerful punch. But now, it was completely undamaged. Quite tenacious. Seeing that the formation was still intact, Lin Ray was stunned. He raised his fist again and punched the place where he punched with all his might. Bam! 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 Next, a loud bang was heard. The second punch still didn't break the formation. Lin Ray started to bombard the formation like a storm. Punch after punch rushed forward. It didn't take long, only a few minutes. Within a few minutes, he punched 100 times. Crunch! A strange sound suddenly rang out. Linley was delighted by this, and his heart was filled with joy. You can't take it anymore. Since that's the case, let me give you a fatal blow. With that, he swung his sandbag-sized fist and punched with all his might. Crack! Boom! It was broken. With this punch, the formation protecting the mountain was finally broken. However, the moment it was broken, a terrifying spiritual energy rushed out. The spiritual energy was 100 times denser than the outside world. Damn! Feeling his body being cleansed by the spiritual energy, Lin Ray's body felt light and comfortable. Come, let me see what's here. With that, he extended his divine sense. Without the obstruction of the formation, it didn't take long. Very quickly, Linley found the entrance to the palace. At the foot of the mountain, a door appeared. It wasn't there before. Looking at the door, Lin Ray was delighted. In a flash, he appeared in front of the door. Open! Open! With a simple punch, the door was broken, and the entrance appeared. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and entered. Linley's speed was extremely fast. He believed that as long as he had a physical body, there would be nothing here that could harm him. Moreover, his divine sense was always out. If there was any danger, he would be able to detect it in advance. The cave was very deep. After a step, Lin Ray arrived in front of a mountain gate. Looking at the door, there was an ancient aura. On it, there were some mysterious and ferocious beast diagrams. Looking at the beast diagrams, Lin Ray was stunned. He didn't recognize any of the beast diagrams on the door. Moreover, he was sure that there wasn't a single beast in the entire God realm. If that was the case, the only place Lin Ray could think of was the Saint world. There wasn't a single beast in the God realm or the immortal world. Other than the Saint's world, Lin Ray couldn't think of any other place. Just you wait. I'll destroy the Tranquil Sect in the Saint's world sooner or later. When the time comes, I'll grab the head of the Tranquil Sect and ask him why he's always going against me and why he's looking for the purple bloodline. Break for me a simple, crude punch. Without the key, Linley could only use brute force to deal with it. Even though the suddenness of the punch was extremely boom, in the next moment, the moment his fist landed on the door that was engraved with beast diagrams instantly exploded. Ho! Suddenly, the door burst open, and spiritual energy, even denser than before, gushed out. Lin Ray could confirm that this was where the Tranquil Sect hid their treasures. Stepping through the door, Lin Ray was greeted with the sight of a huge palace. Furthermore, Lin Ray was sure that this palace was at least 2 to 3 times bigger than his own palace in the Xuanzong sect. Within the palace, there was one pillar after another. However, to Linley's astonishment, these pillars weren't made of stone. They were all made of sky sandstone. This sort of stone was extremely hard and very hard to find. Yet, they were made into pillars here. Lin Ray couldn't help but wonder how deep the Tranquil Sect's foundations were. See, that's moving away from the pillars. Lin Fan's gaze landed on a throne not far away. The throne was blue in color, and it was sparkling with a light. F*CK. Chaotic Heaven Mysterious Jade? This Chaotic Heaven Mysterious Jade. This was an extremely rare material for smithing. Even though it was made of jade, it was extremely tough and beautiful. Grade. In terms of smithing materials, it was comparable to holy grade materials. Even Linley, who had the system, couldn't help but sigh in amazement when he saw all of these items. Any one of these items would be enough to start a war in the God realm. Ha! Hurry up and keep them. With these items, the system might be able to level up to level 5 in no time. By then, I'll be able to unlock some unimaginable functions, and I'll regain my memories. Just as Lin Ray was gasping in shock, the system suddenly spoke up, its voice filled with excitement and nervousness. What memories could it be? Hearing this, Lin Ray froze, his heart filled with regret. Chapter 835. All this while, Lin Ray had never heard the system say these words. Now that he heard it, a terrifying thought appeared in Lin Ray's mind. Haha, seems like you've already guessed it. Looking at Lin Ray's shock, the system chuckled and admitted, "That's right, I didn't tell you before. Due to certain reasons, the system, that is, I have some memory loss. However, as the system slowly evolves, my memory will also be unlocked bit by bit. So, you don't know what's after that, or perhaps the system. Maybe it's not only level 5. Maybe there are more levels after that, but your memory is incomplete, so you don't know, right? Is that so?" Linley followed up on the system's words. Yes, that's right." The system nodded. "I only found out about this recently, but as for whether there are levels after that, I don't know because my memory hasn't returned yet. Maybe when the system evolves to level 5, some of my memory will return and we'll know then." Hearing the system's words, Lin Ray's heart was filled with shock. This was perhaps the most shocking thing that Lin Ray had heard in this period of time. However, it was undeniable that after hearing this, Lin Ray was not only shocked, but also excited because, if it was as he thought before, it meant that level 5 wasn't all there was to the system. That's great. Thinking about it, he couldn't help but shout. His face was filled with excitement and even a little impatience. After all, the system was already so powerful when it was upgraded to level 4. If it was upgraded to level 5, or even level 6 or 7 after level 5, then he really didn't dare to imagine how powerful the system would be. That's enough. You haven't even reached level 5, and you're already imagining things? Suddenly, the system reminded Lin Ray. Hearing this, the system blushed and scratched its head embarrassedly. "Haha, you brat." Looking at Lin Ray's appearance, the system chuckled before continuing. "All right, hurry up and put these things away. With these things, the sect should be able to rise to a higher level. Perhaps the entire sect will follow you soon after you reach the Saints' world." "Yes, I think so too. After all, I was the one who founded the Xuanzong sect. I don't want the system to remain nameless in the realm of the gods." As he spoke, Lin Ray's face was full of arrogance. Looking at the treasures before him, he sneered, "As my sect, even if it doesn't become the leader of all sects, it should at least be above the 9 heavens. You have great ambitions. I admire you." Looking at Lin Ray's excited expression, the system chuckled and stopped talking. In response, Lin Ray smiled and said nothing. Instead, he continued to examine the heavenly treasures before him. As for those that he had examined previously, he had already kept them in his storage ring. However, there were still some that Lin Ray had yet to examine. He wanted to take a good look. Perhaps he could find some pills that could increase his cultivation level. After all, if he wanted to increase his cultivation level bit by bit, it would take him hundreds of years. He wouldn't be able to increase his cultivation level. Therefore, he could only look at pills and experience the edge of life and death to increase his cultivation level. As he thought about it, he moved to another area. What he saw was a small mountain made up of supreme-grade, godly crystals. Of course, there weren't only supreme-grade, godly crystals. There were also high-grade, middle-grade, and low-grade, godly crystals. Fortunately, these were all separated. Regarding this, Lin Ray was still a little grateful to the Chinquin sect. If not, he would have to call them out one by one. That would be so troublesome. Come on, my babies. With that, he used his divine sense to cover the few godly crystals. Then, he removed the 4 storage rings. With a thought, the mountains made up of godly crystals disappeared. After doing all this, Lin Ray placed the 4 storage rings in the system and walked to the bookshelf at the side. Lin Ray had high hopes for the bookshelf. Water-immersed wood was a rare type of wood. Although it wasn't supreme grade, it was enough to show how strong the Chinquin sect was to be able to use water-immersed wood as a bookshelf. He walked slowly to the bookshelf and casually picked up a yellowed book. For large words appeared in front of his eyes. Heaven Connecting Technique. Heaven Connecting Technique. Looking at the book in his hands, Lin Ray's expression was filled with disdain. Lin Ray didn't believe that there was anything good about it. However, no matter how much he looked down on this secretary, Lin Ray still flipped it open and started reading. Heaven Connecting Technique. Use the power of the world to build your foundation. Use the power of the world to cultivate your body. It is split into 19 levels. The inner level contains superimposed energy. To reach the highest level, one must have a strong body. To reach the 12th level, one must first break through to the saint realm. He wouldn't have known if he didn't read it. However, the moment he read it, Lin Ray's eyes were completely captivated by the Heaven Connecting Technique. At the end, after reading the introduction, Lin Ray couldn't help but take in a deep breath. His face was filled with shock. Others might not know how difficult it was for one's physical body to break through to the saint realm. However, he knew it very well. Furthermore, even he was only a half-sage. To reach the 12th level, one must break through to the saint realm in order to continue cultivating. Just this little bit more was enough to show how powerful the Heaven Connecting Technique was. However, there was one thing that Lin Ray didn't quite understand. The power of the world. What was the so-called power of the world? He had only heard of spiritual energy, immortal elemental energy, God elemental energy, saint energy, and Hongmeng energy. This so-called power of the world, he had never heard of it. It seems that after you break through to the saint realm, you'll have to go to the scripture pavilion and stay there for 8 to 10,000 years. You don't even know about something as simple as the power of the world. Is this something that I should know? Lin Ray couldn't help but roll his eyes. Suddenly, the system didn't know where to begin. Although not everyone in the God realm knew about this, at the very least, people at his level of strength should know. But now, in the end, the system let out a sigh, then began to explain to Linley in a powerless voice. Realm force is something that can be used to call upon spatial energy in order to train. They don't train in spiritual energy. From the very beginning, they train by sensing the realm force. So that's how it is. Hearing this, Linley nodded, not quite understanding. Yes, even on planet Aqua Blue, which was extremely lacking in spiritual energy, as long as you have the cultivation method of the power of the world, even if there is no spiritual energy, you can still cultivate quickly. Take the power of the stars, for example. The system gave an analogy. The power of the stars is the power that comes from above the stars. The stars, the power of the world, and the spiritual energy that you cultivate are all similar. It's just that they have the same root, but different sources. In response to the system's explanation, Lin Ray gave a meaningful "oh." Now he understands. After all, the power of the world is the power of the realm. That's enough. Although the Heaven Connecting Technique is a powerful cultivation method, for you is like a chicken rib. It's not suitable for you, the system emphasized. He didn't say anything and didn't respond. He put the Heaven Connecting Technique back in its original position and picked up another one. 6 Dragons Union Technique, 9 Clouds Vast Waves Technique, Heaven Connecting Dragon Origin Technique, and so on. Lin Ray took the cultivation methods one by one. These cultivation methods were exactly the same as the Heaven Connecting Technique from before. They were all very powerful, but the system only gave a single sentence in the end. Like a chicken rib. It's not suitable for you. In response, Lin Ray only said, got it, got it. After all, this was the system's opinion. Lin Ray still had to listen to it. Although the names of these cultivation methods sounded very flashy, Lin Ray also felt that the Chaos Heaven scripture was more suitable for him. In the end, after Lin Ray was dazzled by the books, he simply stopped looking. With a thought, he moved over 20 bookshelves into the system. Of course, these 20 bookshelves weren't all filled with cultivation methods. Some of the bookshelves only had a total of a dozen books. Among them, there were cultivation methods, combat methods, footwork, spells, weapon refinement, talisman, pill refinement, and spell formations. However, most of the cultivation methods that could be placed here were of extremely high quality. After doing all this, Lin Ray's face revealed a satisfied smile. This trip could be said to be a fruitful one. Kid, hurry up and walk straight ahead. There's something there that might be very useful to you. Suddenly, an urgent voice sounded in his mind. Lin Ray was stunned. Ahead, the one who spoke was none other than the system. However, after hearing the system's words, Lin Ray frowned and was puzzled. Yes, ahead. Trust me, I definitely won't lie to you. Hurry up, oh. He nodded. Although he didn't know what it was, if the system was so anxious, its value shouldn't be lower than the eye seal from before. With that thought, he took a step forward and walked forward according to the system's instructions. To the left, then he came to the location that the system had pointed out. Hearing the system speak again, Lin Ray quickly turned around. He did as he was told. To the right, hearing the system's words, Lin Ray started to have some doubts. Previously, when the system said that there was something, Lin Ray released his consciousness to check, but he didn't find anything. Hurry up, behind the wall in front. I feel that the thing is behind the wall. Just as Lin Ray was feeling gloomy, the system suddenly spoke. Lin Ray was startled by this. His spirits were lifted, and his previous gloominess was swept away. He took a single step forward, arriving in front of the wall. Staring at the wall, Lin Ray spread out his divine sense. But what puzzled Lin Ray was that within his divine sense, there was nothing strange about the wall. Give me your body. This thing is sealed. Although you have the eye seal now, you have only just mastered it. You don't have the ability to break it. At this moment, the system said, Although he had many doubts, at the same time, they seemed to coexist. He nodded his head and said, all right, then go. After all, they had worked together a few times before. Without any precaution, Lin Ray handed his body over to the system. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying surge of energy shot out from within Lin Ray's body. This surge of energy had already surpassed the limits of what this realm could withstand. However, although Lin Ray withdrew from the control of his body, he could still feel it. Lin Ray, who was in his soul state, was shocked. After all, compared to before, the power of the system seemed to have increased by quite a bit. Lin Ray, who was in his soul state, was shocked. Come on. Let me see if this is what I've been waiting for. Looking at the confirmation in front of him, he clenched his hand into a fist and punched the wall. Rumble. As the fist landed, the palace shook. The entrance started to tremble after the previous tremor. Faintly, a piece of rock fell, as if it was about to collapse. Regarding this, the system did not have any estimation. Cracks appeared on the surface of the palace, but it did not break. For a moment, the system was stunned. Then, its expression froze. This time, it increased its strength. If the system was not afraid of returning this place with a full force punch, it would have used its strength. It increased its strength and punched the cracks in front of it. Fast, accurate, ruthless, clean, and crisp. There was no hesitation. Boom! Bang! Suddenly a fist landed. With a bang, gravel flew in all directions. A square hole appeared. The square hole was not very deep. It was only the width of an arm. In this square hole, there was a box that could be held with one hand. Please let it be what I want. Seeing that it was a box, the system hesitated for a moment. After praying in its heart, it reached out and grabbed the box. Just as it was about to grab the box, the system gave up the control of the body and returned it to Lin Ray. Phew! Returning to the physical body, his body was full of fatigue and pain. Regarding this, Lin Ray was very clear. This was because his strength was too weak and could not bear the powerful cultivation of the system. Thus, it caused a sequelae. "Kid, open the box." At this moment, the system spoke. "Oh." Responding, he endured the fatigue and pain in his body. His gaze fell on the box. There was no prohibition, no seal, and not even a chain. Regarding this, Lin Ray was stunned. Then, he reached out and opened the box. Boom! Suddenly, the moment the box was opened, a wave of soul force rushed to his face. Suddenly, Linley had been somewhat tired and in pain, but as soon as he sensed this dense, spiritual energy, all of the side effect he had felt were alleviated somewhat. But when Linley looked inside the box, he didn't see any of the glittering treasures that Linley had imagined. All he saw was a shriveled, flower-like object. "What is this?" "Soul loss." Hearing Lin Ray's question, the system said, "Soul loss? What is it for?" "It seems like there is a strong soul force in it." Lin Ray did not understand the soul loss. He had never heard of it. It was not that he was ignorant. Even if he was a supreme alchemist, he did not know the use of this soul loss. Little dragon. Now what the little dragon lacks the most is the soul loss. Use this soul loss to awaken the little dragon. I can't always follow you here. I still have to organize my memories. Maybe I can remember something? Chapter 836. This can wake up the little dragon? Surprised, Lin Ray's face was filled with excitement after hearing the system's words. Lin Ray had always felt that he owed the little dragon a lot. Every time, it was because the little dragon had saved him. Lin Ray had always been inquiring about the elixirs that could restore soul shock. But for such a long time, he had been cultivating in the ancient corpse burial ground and various other places. Although he asked 36 and the others to help him search. But yes, the soul mourning can indeed revive the little dragon. However, this is only to revive it. If you want to restore it, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. The system's words were filled with helplessness. Although the soul mourning can solve the little dragon's problem, it will only be temporary. It can only help the little dragon to recover, but its body will be very weak. Within 100 years, if you can't find a treasure to restore soul shock, then the consequences will be very serious. This is another drawback of the soul mourning. Since it gives you hope, if you don't grasp it, then the final outcome will only be what you don't want to see the most. After listening to the system's explanation, Lin Li, who had decided to use the soul mourning, suddenly hesitated. He was afraid. He was afraid that if he couldn't find a treasure to restore soul shock within 100 years, then the little dragon would be in danger. Lin Ray had always been known for his decisiveness in other matters. Even when he killed someone, he wouldn't even blink. But when it came to the little dragon, Lin Ray didn't dare. He was afraid. He was afraid that he would lose the little dragon, who was both a teacher and a friend. Although he was cheated and cheated along the way, it was mostly because the little dragon fell into a coma again and again because of him. How about it? You could decide for yourself. Anyway, I've already told you about it. You can think about it yourself. If you made up your mind, just call me. However, you have to be quick, or I'm afraid that I'll enter a state of recovery. If that's the case, then the little dragon can only rely on Gu Jun's corpse to recover. After saying that, it shut up and Lin Ray took the initiative to cut off the connection with the system. In response, Lin Ray was stunned. With a thought, he put the soul of demise in his hand into his storage ring. The question of whether or not to use soul's demise to restore the little dragon became a dilemma for Lin Ray. Sigh. He sighed, and his face was filled with hesitation, disappointment, helplessness, and powerlessness. Plop! In the next moment, Lin Ray's body went limp and fell backward, sitting on the ground. If it weren't for his two hands supporting him subconsciously, his head would have hit the ground. Should I use soul demise on the little dragon? He wanted to use it, but he was afraid that if he didn't inject soul power into the little dragon in time, it would cause him more serious and irreparable damage. For a moment, the entire space fell into silence. No one spoke, and even the sound of breathing was so soft that if one didn't listen carefully, they wouldn't be able to hear it at all. Just like that, time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, half a day had passed. In this half a day, Lin Ray thought about a lot of things. However, just now Lin Ray made up his mind. Use it. 100 years. It seems that time will be tight again. After saying that, Lin Ray's expression was firm. He then opened his mouth and said to the system, "System, inject soul's demise into the little dragon to recover. As for finding a treasure that can replenish soul power within 100 years, I think I should have no problem." "Well, I've been waiting for you to say that." "Ha ha ha." The system laughed. Hearing this, Lin Ray was stunned. Then, he couldn't help but laugh bitterly. However, after thinking about it, his personality was obvious. Okay, hurry up. He was anxious to see the little dragon, so he urged the system. He really wanted to see how the little dragon would react when it woke up and saw such a change in him. Okay. Hearing Lin Ray's urgency, the system said, "Just wait. The little dragon has been asleep for a long time, so even if you use soul's demise, it will take some time, so understood. Take your time. Just let the little dragon do it. I'm not in a hurry." Of course, even though he said he wasn't in a hurry, when he heard the system say that, Lin Ray's heart couldn't help but clench. Okay, I'm going to start. Don't come looking for me during this time." The system replied, "Oh right, the teleportation portal is already in your storage basket. Okay, go ahead." Lin Ray nodded and didn't say anything else. The disappointment from before had disappeared and was swept away. Hee, little dragon, you bastard. When you wake up, I'll make sure you die of disgust." As he said that, an evil smile appeared on his face. It's time to leave." Looking at the empty hall around him, he stood up and patted the dirt off his butt. Then, he slowly walked out of the hall. "All of you, gather here quickly. I'll give you 10 breaths. If you don't arrive within 10 breaths, you'll be punished by the Ministry of Justice." Suddenly, his consciousness rushed out and covered the entire area where Chinquin's sect was. He then transmitted a message to Bai Chi and the rest who were searching for treasures in Chinquin's sect. Young master. Within Chinquin's sect, the few people who were searching for treasures suddenly stopped in their tracks. Their faces changed and were filled with shock. However, they quickly regained their senses and found the right direction. With a leap, they rushed towards the sect at full speed. Swoosh! His speed was so fast that it was as if he was a swan crossing a stream. With a thunderous roar, he disappeared into the horizon. That's pretty fast. Within the range of Lin Ray's consciousness, even though Bai Chi and the rest were moving at an incredible speed, Lin Ray could still see them clearly. With a single glance, he could clearly see their figures. Looking at Bai Chi and the rest who were rushing towards him, Lin Ray smiled. He then took a step forward and arrived at the entrance of the palace in an instant. "I've been out for a while now. If Xie Feng knows what I'm doing, I'm afraid." Lin Ray arrived at the entrance of the palace and could already see the situation outside. He couldn't help but think of Xie Feng. However, this thought gave Lin Ray a headache. He could already imagine how terrible Xie Feng's face would be when she found out. See, his body trembled and he shook his head vigorously. "No, I can't let Xie Feng know about this. Otherwise, I'll have a hard time in the future." Luckily, Xie Feng brought Ling out of the sect. Otherwise, whoosh, whoosh, just as Lin Ray was deep in thought, the sound of something tearing through the air could be heard. In an instant, 6 figures landed in front of Lin Ray. "Greetings, young master." Their voices weren't loud, but their auras were extremely powerful. Furthermore, their faces were filled with respect. Not bad. When he came back to his senses and saw Bai Chi and the others arrive, Lin Ray couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. He said, "Not bad. I gave you 10 breaths of time, but you didn't even use it. You only took 6 breaths of time to arrive. Not bad. You deserve praise." Whoosh! After saying that, several streams of light instantly rushed out, rushing towards the 6 people respectively. "Thank you, young master." They didn't refuse and stretched out their hands to receive them. Then, they lowered their heads to look at them. Storage rings? At that moment, the 6 people were holding none other than the countless storage rings that they had. Looking at the storage rings in their hands, they were stunned. They looked up at Lin Ray in confusion, as if to ask, "Young master, what do you mean by this?" "Take them." Understanding the intentions of Bai Qi and the others, Linley explained, "These are the treasures that I picked out for you guys from the Chinquin Sect. Take them. Who knows, maybe in the future, you guys might take on a disciple or something. Don't be afraid that you don't have anything to show off. If that happens, people might think that I have mistreated you guys." Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Their expressions were strange, but at the same time, they were filled with joy. After all, they were Lin Ray's subordinates. If they didn't get Lin Ray's permission to take in a disciple, they would definitely not allow it. Of course, this was also the power of the system. After all, even though they weren't taught by Lin Ray, they were still given by the system. All right, it's just a few things. With your strength, it's time to find a disciple. This will also help the Xuanzong sect attract new blood, right? Yes, we understand. Everyone nodded. All right. Seeing that everyone had agreed, Lin Ray smiled. However, he suddenly thought of something and said, "That's right. You can take in a disciple, but there must be a condition. Young master, please speak. We will definitely comply." Nodding his head, he said, "You can take in a disciple, but you must look at their character. Even if your disciple is not strong, he must have a good character. Otherwise," at this point, Lin Ray's eyes dimmed. This was because when he said this, Lin Ray couldn't help but think of the time when he was surrounded in the celestial realm. Yes, we understand. Bai Qi and the others naturally knew about Lin Ray's strange expression. Among them, Hong Lian saw Lin Ray's dimmed expression and immediately understood the reason. "Sigh, it seems that young master has not recovered from his injuries. Madam, you are so lucky to have young master's love." Hong Lian couldn't help but feel envious. "Young master, now we are going to—" Just as Hong Lian was in a daze, Kuwait Gang broke the silence. "Return to the sect." Looking at Kagang, Linley laughed, then continued, "The cosmic sect has been destroyed, and I've taken all of the natural treasures of the cosmic sect. There's nothing left here that I can't leave behind. Thus, it's time to go back." "Yes, we accept your orders." Everyone saluted, then came to stand behind Linley. They stood there respectfully, not saying anything else. Ignoring Bai Qi and the others, Zhao Fu took out the teleportation channel that he had bought for 3 million gold coins. A trace of spirit qi flowed into the teleportation channel, and Zhao Fu threw it forward. Following this, the teleportation channel, which was originally the size of a palm, started to expand as soon as Lin Ray threw it out. 3 meters, 6 meters. Only when the teleportation channel reached 15 meters did it stop, and a blue light shot into the sky. At this moment, Bai Qi and the others came back to their senses and couldn't help but laugh when they saw this. "Teleportation channel. I used this channel to come here. Otherwise, how could I have reached here in such a short time?" After saying that, she smiled and took a step forward. In an instant, she arrived at the center of the teleportation array. She turned around and waved her hand at Bai Qi and the others, who were still standing there. "Come here." Whoosh! Without any hesitation, everyone's figures flashed, and they instantly arrived behind Linley's body. "Oh, let's go." Seeing that everything was ready, Lin Ray clasped his hands together and formed a series of strange seals. His speed became faster and faster, to the point where no one could see him clearly. Finally, Lin Ray's hand stopped. Rumble! Suddenly, in the instant that Linley's hand seals came to a halt, the ground began to tremble. At this moment, the blue light suddenly began to shine brightly, and a mysterious, devouring aura emanated from it. "Let's go!" Lin Ray shouted and waved his left hand. The teleportation channel was activated, and the blue light shone brightly. In the next moment, Lin Ray and the others disappeared from the mystic arch. At the same time, in the mystic realm of the Xuanzong sect on Sky Dragon Mountain, a group of beautiful young men and women were cultivating. Suddenly, The spirit energy in the air became chaotic. What's going on? A young man, who had his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. His face was full of doubt. This was the mystic realm of the Xuanzong sect. If the spirit energy here was chaotic, it would not be seen in the Xuanzong sect. Hua! Under the gaze of the young man, a blue light appeared not far from the lake. At first, it was just a needle's eye, but as time passed, the blue light grew bigger and bigger. It only stopped growing when it was about 15 meters wide. The moment the blue light appeared, a few black figures appeared in the blue light. The sharp-eyed young man was stunned. Suddenly, a look of joy appeared on his face. Xinyuan, why are you so happy to see your master? At this moment, Lin Rei and the others were standing in the blue light. The young man standing outside the blue light was not a person. He was Lin Rei's third disciple, Lin Xinyuan. Master, Hearing this familiar voice, Lin Xinyuan wanted to say something, but he realized that he could not say anything. He could only stop. Looking at his third brother's expression, Lin Rei liked him more and more. The blue light dissipated, and everyone's figures landed on Lin Xuanyuan's body. Then, they stepped out of the teleportation channel and arrived in front of Lin Xinyuan. Go and do what you need to do. After walking out of the teleportation channel, Lin Xinyuan ignored Lin Xinyuan and said to Bai Qi and the others. Chapter 837. Asterisk whoosh whoosh. Asterisk Bai Qi and the others, who were originally in front of Lin Rei, heard Lin Rei's order and rushed out, disappearing in front of everyone's eyes. As for Lin Li, he continued to watch Bai Qi and the others disappear into the horizon. Only after they had completely disappeared from Lin Li's field of vision did Lin Li retract his gaze and turn. Asterisk plop. Asterisk as he turned around, he saw Lin Xinyuan kneeling on the ground. His face was full of excitement, as if something had happened. What's wrong? Lin Rei didn't understand. Normally, he didn't see Xinyuan with such an expression. Although he didn't spend much time with them, he knew them very well. He knew Xuanyuan's personality better, so when he saw the excited smile on Xuanyuan's face, Lin Rei was stunned. Master, I don't want to stay in the sect. I want to leave with you. Hearing these words, Lin Li was startled for a moment. Then, with an amused smile on his face, he asked, Why do you suddenly want to leave with me? Isn't it better to stay here? Xinyuan stuttered. Looking at his master in front of him, he was stunned. He then said, Yes, it's good to stay here, but I don't want to stay in the sect all the time. Although I can improve my cultivation here, I feel that I'm not the same as before. I feel that my Taoist foundation is a lot weaker. Moreover, I feel that my speed of improvement has slowed down recently. It was as if he had spilled out his thoughts, and his whole body relaxed in an instant. However, at this moment, after hearing Xuanyuan's words, Lin Rei came back to his senses and smiled. His smile was full of gratification and appreciation. He had been worried about this problem for a long time, so he had planned to take them with him this time. He didn't expect Xinyuan to bring it up himself. Of course, although he had planned before, now that Xinyuan had said it himself, it was different. This meant that Xinyuan knew his shortcomings and the drawbacks of his cultivation. Do you agree? Xinyuan asked timidly, looking up at his master. Lin Rei didn't respond to Xuanyuan's words. He just looked at him with a smile. Xinyuan was startled, and a flash of disappointment appeared in his eyes. Sigh, it seems like I agree. At this moment, Lin Rei spoke. Although his voice wasn't loud, Xinyuan Jinjin heard it in her heart. He was stunned. He had thought that there was no hope, but he didn't expect the situation to suddenly change. Now he had agreed. Xinyuan screamed. His face was full of joy and excitement. His wish had been fulfilled. That's good. Lin Rei smiled when he saw Xinyuan acting like a child. He stroked Xuanyuan's hair and said, Why aren't you getting up yet? Hearing this, Xinyuan was stunned. Then he smiled and stood up. At this moment, Lin Rei's voice sounded again. I'm very gratified that you're able to realize this. Originally, I wanted to see your strength, but when I came back, I found that even though your cultivation bases have increased, your foundation is weak and weak. You're a very ordinary cultivator, so I changed my mind and decided to take you with me when I left. I didn't expect, Hearing this, Xian Yuan smiled bitterly. Master, you've already decided to take us with you, Xian Yuan said. Yes. Lin Rei looked at Xian Yuan and replied, I didn't want to take you with me, but it's not the same as you bringing it up yourself. Looking at your ability to comprehend, perhaps in the future, your achievements will be greater than those of your two senior brothers and sisters. As he spoke, he couldn't help but look at Lin Wanyu and the others, who were still cultivating with their eyes closed. Looking at them, Lin Rei was worried. Sai, I hope you can work harder, or else. I'm afraid you won't be able to catch up with me. Lin Rei shook his head and put this matter to the back of his mind. He retracted his gaze and looked at Xian Yuan with a strange expression. Let's go. Accompany me for a walk. When I'm done, I'll bring something back from the Tranquil Sect and give it to you. Yes, master. Of course, Xian Yuan was happy. However, compared to this, Xian Yuan wanted to go out and gain experience, especially with Lin Rei. After all, he had Lin Rei's guidance. He believed that his strength would return to its peak, or even be stronger than before. Let's go. Xian Yuan turned his head and walked slowly towards the depths of the secret territory, without looking at Lin Wanyu and the others. To be honest, although the palace of the Xuanzong sect was built by him, and the secret territory was built by him, he wasn't very familiar with the secret territory. When he first built it, he only built rooms on the periphery. As for the depths, he didn't really go around. Just like that, the two of them walked in silence towards the depths of the secret territory. On the way, neither of them spoke, as if they couldn't find anything to talk about. As for Xian Yuan, he followed behind Lin Li. He was silent, but his face was no longer gloomy. Instead, it was full of smiles and sunshine. Coupled with his youthful appearance, Xian Yuan looked like a sunny boy. He was very handsome. Xian Yuan, do you know why I gave you this name? Suddenly, Lin Rei broke the silence. Hearing Lin Rei's words, Xian Yuan recovered from his joy and looked at Lin Rei blankly. In my world, there used to be an emperor. His name was Xian Yuan, and he was a great hero. He was blessed with the aura of an emperor, and he was very powerful. If we were to classify him according to the levels of cultivation, I'm afraid he was already in the realm of saints in my world. Hearing this, Xian Yuan, who was standing behind Lin Li, felt a wave of shock in his heart, especially when he heard the word saint, emperor's blessing. Seeing the strange look on Xuan Yuan's face, Lin Rei smiled and continued, Of course, this is only a legend in my world. I don't know the specifics. I've said so much because I want to say that in the future, you must work harder in your cultivation. Although you won't be able to benefit the world, at least you can't be a bloodthirsty demon. Do you understand? Yes, master, your disciple understands. Xian Yuan nodded, his face full of seriousness and determination. Your disciple will work harder in the future and become a saint. Not bad, not bad. Looking at Xian Yuan, Lin Rei's smile grew wider. All right, I'll give you something. Although its level is a bit low, when I reach the saint level, I'll give you something better. What do you think? As he spoke, a golden light shone from Lin Rei's hand. Suddenly, Xian Yuan opened his eyes, and the golden light pierced his eyes. He immediately closed his eyes. Looking at Xuan Yuan's current state, Lin Rei smiled and said, When this sword was forged, the 9-clawed golden dragon was attached to it, and the aura of an emperor filled the air. When I saw this, I merged it with the dragon's vein, and then this sword was forged. As he spoke, he grabbed the hilt of the sword and the scabbard with his other hand. Clang! A deafening sound of the sword rang out. This sword, Destiny Xian Yuan. I named it after you. Its level is not high, only at the pre-saint level. Don't worry, after I refine it for you, it will definitely reach the saint level. Xian Yuan's sword? At this moment, Xian Yuan opened his eyes and stared blankly at the sword in front of him. His expression was full of excitement and passion. Yes, Xian Yuan's sword. Seeing Xuan Yuan's expression, Lin Rei knew that Xian Yuan liked the sword very much. He then pushed the sword forward again and said, "Take this." At this moment, the sword and scabbard were separated, and the two appearances of the sword were completely exposed in front of Xian Yuan. The sword was 3 feet long and shone with a golden light. In the golden light, there seemed to be a golden dragon swimming in it. Xian Yuan could feel the infinite sword qi coming from a sword. The scabbard was very beautiful. There were a few 9-clawed golden dragons carved on it, and at the top of the scabbard, the word Xian Yuan was very eye-catching. "Xian Yuan, are you my sword?" Xian Yuan said to himself as he reached out his hand to grab the sword. The moment Xuan Yuan's hand was about to touch the sword, a terrifying sword qi rushed out and bounced Xuan Yuan's hand away. This scene made Xian Yuan gasp. His face was full of shock. "How? Right now, you are not its master." Also, seeing the confusion on his third disciple's face, Lin Li explained, "A quasi-saint artifact is not that easy to obtain. Thus, if you want it to acknowledge you, you have to use all of your strength and integrity to suppress it and subdue it for your own use." Hearing this, Xian Yuan was stunned. However, he quickly came back to his senses. His previous doubts were swept away, and in the blink of an eye, there was only endless fighting spirit left in his eyes. He wanted to subdue the Xian Yuan sword. "Oh, go ahead." Seeing his third disciple's fighting spirit, Lin Rei smiled and stabbed the Xian Yuan sword into the ground. The moment the sword touched the ground, it was like cutting through tofu. Lin Rei stabbed it into the ground without any pressure. After doing all this, Lin Rei stepped aside and smiled. "Little guy, now it's up to you. Whether you can subdue it or not depends on your ability. Of course, if you don't have the ability to subdue it, I will seal it." Then, without waiting for the third disciple to reply, he took a step forward and instantly appeared 1,000 meters away. He found a good place to watch the show. With a thought, he took out a rocking chair and a few fruits. Then, he lay down on a rocking chair and ate the fruits comfortably while watching the show. He was having a good time. No way. Xian Yuan saw Lin Rei's actions at the moment. Seeing his master like this, Xian Yuan was stunned and the corner of his mouth twitched. He didn't look at Xian Yuan's sword for a long time. Then, he looked away and fixed his eyes on the Xian Yuan sword. You're destined to be mine." Xian Yuan looked at the Xian Yuan sword in the ground. His face was filled with hatred. He took a step forward and appeared in front of the Xian Yuan sword. He immediately revolved his cultivation and condensed spiritual qi in his hand. Then, he grabbed the hilt of the sword. In order to prevent the Xian Yuan sword from attacking, Xian Yuan's sword released the pressure of a great emperor and suppressed it. "You want to play with me? You're still too young." Xian Yuan's sword's heart relaxed a little. Then, he moved his hand again. The sound of a sword humming filled the air. At this moment, Lin Wanyu and the others, who were far away in the outskirts of the pocket dimension, heard the humming of a sword. Instantly, they opened their eyes, and a bright light flashed in their pupils. Their faces were filled with puzzlement. What's going on? How can there be such a strong sword qi in the mysterious territory? Who could it be? Lin Wanyu looked around. Where's Xian Yuan? At that moment, Lin Wanyu realized that Lin Xian Yuan, her third fellow disciple, had disappeared. Her other fellow disciples were all there. At this moment, Cullen and the others woke up as well. They were all awakened by the sword hum. Eldest sister, such a strong sword qi appeared in the mysterious territory. Should we go and take a look? At that moment, Karen said. His face was filled with excitement. That's right, eldest sister. At that moment, Jiang Yuan added, After all, this is the mysterious territory. It's our master's home. There's nothing wrong with going and taking a look, right? When she heard the two of them talking like this, Lin Wanyu also wanted to go and take a look. Thus, she looked at the two of them and finally nodded. All right, since my two junior brothers have said so, if I don't go, then it would be my fault as the eldest senior sister. Then, she stood up and rushed towards the sound of the sword. She was so fast that she disappeared in the blink of an eye. Seeing how fast their eldest sister was, everyone was stunned. Then, they laughed bitterly and stood up to follow Lin Wanyu. At that moment, Xian Yuan, who was subduing the Xian Yuan sword, didn't know that his actions had awakened Lin Wanyu and the others. My strength? Huh, do you think it's possible? At that moment, Xuan Yuan's hand was still some distance away from the sword hilt. However, he hadn't used his full strength yet. His hand stopped there, unable to move forward. Mysterious ice strength, break for me. With a low roar, a terrifying cold energy rushed out from Xian Yuan's body. Following the appearance of the mysterious ice strength, Xian Yuan, who was originally a middle-stage god emperor, had his cultivation increased by 2 minor levels at this moment, reaching the peak of late-stage god emperor realm. The sword Qi that had been blocking Xuan Yuan's attack broke apart the moment the mysterious ice force appeared. It was being eaten away by Xuan Yuan's mysterious ice force. Chapter 838. Interesting. When did this brat learn such a skill? Using his own spiritual energy to condense an extremely cold force to suppress the sword Qi of the Xian Yuan sword. TSK. This brat's comprehension ability is simply. In the distance, Lin Li, who was lying on a rocking chair, had been paying attention to Xuan Yuan's situation. His face was full of relief, especially when Xian Yuan used the ice force. Lin Li's eyes lit up. It could be seen that the ice force was an extremely powerful method. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caught Xuan Yuan's attention, let alone be able to suppress the Xian Yuan sword Qi. Lin Rei naturally knew how terrifying the Xian Yuan sword was. However, Lin Rei was also very happy about the ice force. After all, such a powerful method wasn't easy to obtain. Perhaps, suddenly, Xuan Yuan's hand had already grasped the hilt of the Xian Yuan sword. However, the moment he grasped the hilt, his face suddenly changed and turned pale. This sword Qi is too. At this moment, Xian Yuan was very depressed. He thought that by grasping the hilt and using some strength, he would be able to subdue the sword, but the moment he grasped the hilt, Xuan Yuan's imagination completely changed. A golden sword Qi instantly rushed into his hand, then spread from his arm to his upper body. As time passed, the sword Qi spread to his entire body. Feeling the sword Qi rushing into his body and flowing through his meridians, Xuan Yuan's face suddenly changed and was full of fear. Meridians were very important to everyone, whether they were ordinary people or cultivators. If there was a problem with his meridians, then puffed. He couldn't help but spit out the blood in his throat. His face became even paler. Oh no, this guy entered my Dan palace. Feeling the direction of the sword Qi, Xuan Yuan's face changed, and he smiled bitterly. Beasts of the 4 symbols, seal, all directions. Dan Palace as the main, spiritual Qi as the auxiliary, meridians as the lock seal. Suddenly, Xian Yuan used his own meridians, Dan Palace, and spiritual Qi as the foundation to seal the sword Qi that had entered his Dan Palace. At this moment, Xian Yuan had no other choice. He thought it would be very easy, but he didn't expect this to happen. It could be said that it was a moment of carelessness. After all, he did not expect the golden sword Qi to be so powerful. Moreover, he had also underestimated the Xian Yuan sword. After all, it was refined by Lin Rei using the illusory spirit blood fire and fused with the dragon vein. Alas, in the distance, Lin Rei was very clear about Xuan Yuan's situation. He also knew that Xian Yuan had used a sealing technique and that the golden sword Qi had entered his Dan Palace. Regarding this, Lin Rei couldn't help but sigh. However, this was enough. After all, the Xian Yuan sword was refined by him. He knew how powerful it was. A weapon of sage to be was no joke. Forget it. I thought I didn't have to do anything, but it seems... Lin Rei shook his head, stood up, and stepped forward. In an instant, he was behind Xian Yuan. He activated his cultivation and poured spiritual power into his right hand. He instantly used the Devouring Heaven technique and stuck it to Xuan Yuan's back. Don't be distracted. The technique I am using now is a little special. It is a devouring technique, so it may be a little uncomfortable and painful. Remember, stay true to your heart and protect your spiritual altar. Don't be careless. Otherwise, even I can guarantee your safety. Xian Yuan, who was originally in a daze and didn't know what to do, suddenly heard a familiar voice. Suddenly, his body trembled and he nodded inadvertently. After the transmission, Xian Yuan followed Lin Rei's instructions. He stayed true to his heart, protected his spiritual altar, and looked inside himself. It begins. Sensing Xuan Yuan's appearance, Lin Rei's face suddenly became serious and nervous. At this moment, Lin Rei had to be very careful with Xian Yuan. After all, the golden sword Qi was in Xuan Yuan's dam palace. Whoosh, whoosh, suddenly, the atmosphere around them became heavy. In the secret territory, there was a gust of wind. In response, a terrifying, devouring power appeared in Lin Rei's right hand and entered Xuan Yuan's body. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. Several figures quickly rushed over from afar. In the blink of an eye, they had already arrived not far from where Lin Rei was. When they landed on the ground, their eyes fell on Lin Rei. When they saw the situation between Lin Rei and Xian Yuan and the long sword that they had stabbed in front of Xian Yuan, they suddenly seemed to understand something. However, when they saw Xuan Yuan's pale face, their faces changed and they were filled with worry. It seems that Master gave the sword to third junior brother to refine, but it seems that something went wrong. The person who spoke was none other than Lin Wanyu and the others who had sensed the shocking sword Qi and came to find them. Yes, and the sword's aura is so strong. Even from afar, I can feel the sword Qi rushing out from the long sword. Such a weapon is really a supreme treasure. Yes, that's right. The Emperor's aura is hidden in the long sword. It seems that Master thinks highly of third junior brother. One by one, they began to discuss their own opinions. Of course, although they said so, there was no trace of greed on their faces. Of course, there was envy. After all, who wouldn't want such a powerful weapon? All right, let's stop talking. Since Master gave it to third junior brother, it means that his cultivation is stronger than the three of us. So, let's not be lazy in the future. Of course, the most important thing for us now is to protect Master and third junior brother. Although this is the secret territory of the Xuanzong sect, since Master has used the devouring sky technique, it means that third junior brother's situation is very serious. So, we can't let them have the slightest bit of trouble. As she spoke, she turned her head to look at Estranged and the others. Go, each of you guard a corner. Now, Master and junior brother are the most powerful. If anyone comes close, if they don't stop, kill. Yes, we understand. We will follow senior sister's orders. At this moment, seeing Lin Wanyu's serious expression, everyone knew that the situation was serious. Then, with a sound, they disappeared instantly. When they reappeared, they were already at the four corners with Lin Rei as the center according to Lin Wanyu's instructions. They sat down cross-legged and began to guard the two of them. Oh, this group of little guys. At this moment, Lin Rei, who was removing the golden sword Qi for Xian Yuan, smiled. Lin Rei heard the actions of Lin Wanyu and the others and their words very clearly. He also knew what they were doing at this moment. Seeing them like this, Lin Rei relaxed. Then, he focused all his energy on removing the golden sword Qi. In an instant, his consciousness entered into Xuan Yuan's body. Looking at the golden sword Qi that was sealed by the meridians in his Dantian palace, Lin Rei smiled. TSK, TSK. This formation is a little interesting. It can even seal with the meridians. Huh. Lin Li was startled by Xian Yuan Ziliu's sealing formation, and a hint of interest appeared on his face. And then he paid it no more attention, focusing all of his attention on the sword Qi. Looking at it, Lin Rei said, "Little thing, I want you to become Little Third's weapon, not to hurt him. I'll give you two choices." As if it understood Lin Rei's words, the golden sword suddenly trembled. First, become my disciple's weapon and help him condense the seed of the sword heart. Then, he can make you the pinnacle divine weapon in this world. Second, I'll erase your spiritual intelligence. Then, I'll let little third refine you. I believe this should be the most efficient method. I'll give you two choices. Remember, I'm giving you a chance. Don't take my efforts for granted. Do you understand? Suddenly, after hearing Lin Ray's words, the golden sword chi began to tremble violently. The golden light, which had dimmed because of the seal, suddenly shone brightly. It seemed to be resisting, but also seemed to be making a difficult choice. Lin Ray didn't act in time. After all, if the golden sword chi was allowed to condense the seed of the sword heart, then Xuan Yuan's path of the sword would be smooth and smooth. So, time passed little by little. The golden light was still bright and dazzling. In this regard, Lin Ray waited patiently. Lin Ray didn't know how much time had passed. Suddenly, the golden light disappeared. A small sword, which was the same as Xuan Yuan's sword, appeared in front of Lin Ray. Looking at the appearance of the small sword, Lin Ray smiled. Seeing the small sword like this, Lin Ray already knew his answer. How is it? Have you thought about that choice? Although he knew, he still wanted to hear it with his own ears. Suddenly, the small sword trembled. Circles of golden ripples came from a small sword. I choose the first choice. I'll condense the seed of the sword heart and become Xuan Yuan's sword. Suddenly, a young voice rang out. After hearing it, the smile on Lin Li's face grew even wider. I knew long ago that you had formed a sword spirit. I thought that you would be able to hide for a long time. I didn't expect that you would finally show yourself. As the refiner of the Xian Yuan sword, Lin Li naturally knew about the Xian Yuan sword very well. Therefore, when he heard this tender voice, Lin Li was naturally not too surprised. You refine me, but the sword spirit wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Lin Ray halfway through the painting. Well, let's not talk about anything else. My time is limited. Hurry up and start condensing the seed of the sword heart. I wanted to help little Sanzi devour you. Since you agreed, then the devouring heaven's end is useless. After saying that, the devouring heaven's end disappeared instantly. Hearing this, the sword spirit was startled. He naturally knew about the devouring heaven's end. Of course, he also heard about it from other weapon spirits in the system. Little guy, hurry up and get started. I'll leave first. As he spoke, Lin Li turned around and was about to leave. However, as he turned around, he seemed to have thought of something. He paused and continued. Remember that the sword spirit at the quasi-saint level is not allowed to condense any mediocre sword heart seeds. When the time comes, I will check. If it does not meet my requirements, then I will be very angry. After saying that, Lin Ray, who was in a Xian Yuan pill mansion, disappeared instantly and returned to his original body. Little Sanzi, I'll leave the rest to you. I've already told the sword spirit of the Xian Yuan sword. He knows what to do. Lin Ray, who had returned to his original body, said to Xian Yuan, Yes, master, I understand. Xian Yuan nodded, his heart full of gratitude. Well, okay, I'll leave first. After saying that, he didn't want to disturb Xian Yuan anymore. Boom! As Lin Li retreated explosively, a terrifying surge of sword energy suddenly shot out from him. At this moment, in the Xian Yuan pill mansion, the sword spirit that had been sealed by Xian Yuan had been released by Xian Yuan. A small sword stood in the pill mansion. In an instant, the small sword began to spin quickly. It was so fast that it was impossible to see through it. I, the sword spirit of the Xian Yuan sword, am willing to serve Xian Yuan as my master. I condensed the seed of the sword heart here for you to use. You can break the world with your sword heart. A young voice sounded in Xuan Yuan's mind. Suddenly, a terrifying sword chi began to fill Xuan Yuan's body. Every inch of his skin, every cell, and every bone began to harden under the sword spirit's refinement. Even his meridians became the target of the sword spirit's refinement. Even his spiritual chi was no exception. Oh, it seems that little Sanzi will break through to the divine master level after this. Feeling the changes in Xian Yuan, Lin Rei's heart was full of joy. After all, it was a good thing that one of his disciples had broken through to the divine master level. The student had surpassed the master. This was something that Linley naturally felt gratified about. Little girl, hurry up and leave. This is no longer a place for you to stay. This place will be full of sword chi. You don't have a place to stay. Hurry up and leave. Looking at the 4 disciples guarding the 4 corners of the room, Linley smiled and said to them, "Let's go." "Yes." Hearing Lin Rei's order, Lin Wanyu and the others opened their eyes and looked at Lin Xianyuan, who was full of sword chi. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, they couldn't help but be shocked. If they were to compete with Lin Xianyuan now, none of them would be a match for him. The sword chi condensed around him was too powerful. "Let's go." Of course, after the shock, they were all happy. After all, such a powerful person was their senior brother and junior brother. They could only be proud of him. Whoosh! In a flash, they retreated to a place where the sword chi couldn't reach. Finally, they all came to Lin Rei's side and stood there without saying a word. Looking at them, Lin Rei smiled and said, "Little guys, when little Sanzi comes out, he will probably break through to the divine master level." "You what? That much?" Chapter 839. Hearing Lin Rei's words, everyone was shocked, and their faces were full of shock. They had not expected Lin Rei to improve his cultivation by so much. Of course, they had thought about improving their cultivation, but they had not expected it to improve so much. Yes, or else it would not be so difficult to condense the seed of the sword heart. Looking at the astonished disciples, Linley smiled and continued, "All of you, you have to work hard in the future. This time, when I leave, I will take you with me. You have to be prepared." Really, Master?" "Yes. Master, will you really take us with you when you leave this time? You are not lying, are you?" At this time, a few of them were exclaiming. Some of them did not believe it, but some of them were really surprised. After all, if they could follow Lin Rei, the speed of their cultivation would be greatly increased. Looking at the various expressions on their faces, Lin Rei nodded and smiled. "Of course, after I leave this time, I may not come back. So get ready. Tell your friends and relatives that when Xiao Sanzi comes out of seclusion, we will leave and go to the ninth state." "Yes, we will do as you say." Looking at the serious look on their master's face, everyone understood that their master was serious this time. They were very happy about it. "Well, go ahead. There is nothing for you to do here." Nodding his head, he waved his hand and asked them to leave. Regarding this, without any hesitation, they nodded their heads and rushed out of the sect. Alas, I hope I can help you this time. Looking at the disciples leaving, Lin Rei sighed and shook his head. Then he threw some annoying things to the back of his mind. Looking at the distance where the seed of the sword heart was being condensed, he smiled and closed his eyes. Then he entered the system with his divine thought. Just like that, time passed quickly like a white steed flitting across a crevice. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. During these 3 years, the Xuanzong sect was peaceful. However, there were 2 people who were particularly worried. Lin Yun and his daughter, Lin Ling. 3 years ago, after Lin Li told Lin Wanyu that he was leaving, the first thing Lin Yun wanted to do was to go find his father and ask Lin Li about it. In fact, he also wanted to leave this Xuanzong sect, which was like a cage that imprisoned him. He wanted to follow his father. Unfortunately, when Lin Rei entered the secret land, he saw that Lin Rei was resting with his eyes closed, so he did not disturb him. As for Lin Ling, one day in the 2nd year of Lin Rei's seclusion, Lin Ling was brought back to the sect by Xiefeng. In just 1 year, Lin Ling who was originally in the immortal emperor realm, returned to the peak of the late divine general realm. Even her father, Lin Yun, could not help but click his tongue at such a cultivation speed. Lin Ling, who was originally happy, returned to the sect and wanted to see her grandfather, whom she had not seen for a long time. However, she was stopped by Lin Yun, who told her that Lin Rei had left. In response, Xiefeng, who was standing to the side, frowned and disappeared in an instant. After entering the secret land, Just like Lin Ray, she disappeared without a trace and did not appear again. From that moment on, the secret land was sealed and no one could enter. Lin Yun was helpless about this. As for Lin Wanyu and the others, they had been in a state of preparation and cultivation for the past 3 years. In the past 3 years, Lin Wanyu and the others had not dared to slack off in their cultivation. Because of Xin Yuan, everyone felt a sense of urgency, especially Lin Wanyu, who was the eldest senior sister. She did not want to lose to her junior brother in terms of cultivation. Therefore, in the past 3 years, Lin Wanyu was the one who worked the hardest. During these 3 years, those who had been sent out by Linli to shock and awe the 8 prefectures of the divine realm returned to their sects on the 2nd year. During the year they had been gone, they had gone to all of the major sects in the 8 prefectures of the divine realm, using their power to shock and awe them. In response, those sects who were intimidated could only be said to be angry, but did not dare to say anything. How could they have thought that someone would dare to provoke their sect? Moreover, after being provoked, they could not retaliate and could only nod and agree. However, it had to be said that this group of peak ultimate gods was very reliable. In just a year, they had completed the task assigned to them by Lin Ray and forced them to eat the spirit control pill personally refined by Lin Ray. Regarding this, Linli could be said to be very relaxed. The soul-controlling pill had been improved by Linli, and its effects were very good. He believed that even if someone ate it raw, they would have to obediently submit to him. Boom! The originally quiet and peaceful place in the secret realm suddenly shook violently, and a loud boom resounded in the secret realm. With a sword in hand, the world is mine. Ha! A loud laugh was heard, followed by arrogant words. The words were filled with dominance and confidence. Is he awake? Suddenly, in an open space, a young man who was lying on a chair heard this and suddenly woke up. He opened his eyes, and a beam of light shot out into the distance. Phew! I have been in seclusion for 3 years. Although my formation realm did not improve much, my talisman realm has improved a lot. I believe that I will be able to break through to the Saint realm soon. Then the young man laughed. TSK, TSK, the alchemist has already become a saint. If I can improve my talisman realm to the Saint realm before I ascend to the holy world, I will have another way to save my life. At this moment, the person who was talking to himself was none other than Lin Ray, who had been in seclusion with Xin Yuan. In the past 3 years, Linli had been practicing as a sideline all the time. Fortunately, he had gained a lot of insights during these 3 years, and his talisman-making level had risen to the Sage-to-Be level. He believed that after a period of time, he should be able to rise to the saint level. Thinking about it made him happy. His face was full of smiles when he woke up. "You little punk, you finally woke up." Suddenly, a voice filled with coldness rang out, causing Linli's body to tremble. Xia phone? As Xiao Chun thought about this, his neck turned mechanically to the source of the sound. He saw that the evil phoenix was sitting cross-legged on a tree branch, looking at him with interest. That. You. When did you come back? Lin Ray asked. Seeing Lin Ray like this, Xia Feng snorted coldly. Then, in a flash, she appeared in front of Lin Ray. Looking at Lin Ray, who was lying on the rocking chair, Xia Feng's face was gloomy. She said, "Little guy, you have had a good time when I was not around. You even did something like exterminating your sect?" Hearing this, Linli smiled awkwardly and muttered in his heart, F***CK. Who was it? Who told her? Don't F***King, let me find out. Even if it's my own son, I won't F***King let him off. Of course, that was what he thought, but he smiled and quickly explained. I was worried that you'd be tired. Besides, I didn't decide on that place. I asked Bai Qi and the others to deal with it. However, something happened later, so I went, let's leave it at that for now. Now, the most important thing is to go to the 9th state. There's something waiting for me there, so... Saying that, he glanced at Xie Feng and said, "So, if you have anything else to do, hurry up and deal with it. For example, Ling hurry up and deal with her. When little third is better, we will leave this place. I think I won't come back here. Saying that, he was afraid that Siefeng would bring up the previous matter. After saying that, his figure flashed and disappeared from Siefeng's sight. Little bastard! Lin Rei disappeared too suddenly, and Siefeng was not prepared for it. Looking in the direction Lin Li had disappeared in, the evil phoenix stomped its feet angrily. A look of anger appeared on its face. It glanced in the direction Lin Li had left in, then sighed. Forget it. I should hurry up and tell Ling Er. After all, she is my only disciple. She won't be coming back in the future. Saying that, she glanced at Ling Er again. Then, she used her cultivation and disappeared from the spot. At this moment, when Siefeng left, the secret territory's seal also disappeared. I did it, early ultimate god. Early ultimate god realm. Master, I did it. At this moment, in the secret territory, there was a flash of golden light. A figure was standing in the air. His face was full of excitement, and his body was trembling in the air. As for the young man, he gave off a feeling of nobility, as if he was untouchable. Unknowingly, his body was emitting a massive aura that made one want to submit to him. On the young man's body, there was a faint sense of sharpness, like an unsheathed sword that would definitely draw blood. Early ultimate god, I have reached the ultimate god realm. At this moment, the young man muttered to himself. There was nothing else other than these few words. So, little guy, why is your mentality so weak? Isn't it just breaking through to the ultimate god realm? You will break through even more in the future, middle stage, late stage, complete realm, and even saint realm. You can't be so excited every time, right? At this moment, a man's lazy voice came from the side. However, when he heard this voice, the young man turned around with a smile on his face. At this moment, a young man was standing beside him, looking at him with a smile. Looking at the young man, Lin Rei asked, "How do you feel?" "Master." Looking at the person who had appeared, the young man knelt on the ground and shouted excitedly, "Thank you for helping me, Master. Otherwise, with my talent, I would have needed a long time to break through." "That's enough. There's no need to thank me. I am your master." Feeling the sharp sword chi on Xuanyuan's body, the young man's smile didn't fade. "All right, since you are out, let's leave. We have wasted enough time here. There are still some urgent matters waiting for me in the ninth state. Let's go." Then, without waiting for Xuanyuan's reply, he turned around and left. Seeing that his master was in such a hurry, Yuan Xian didn't stay any longer. He used his footwork and immediately chased after Lin Rei. At this moment, in the meeting hall of the Xuanzong Sect, a group of people had gathered. They wanted to see Lin Rei off, so they all wanted to see him off. At this moment, in the hall, there was a beautiful young woman. Her skin was smooth and her face was beautiful. She looked like a goddess who had descended from the heavens. However, there was a look of reluctance on her beautiful face. "Father, grandfather, is grandfather leaving? He just came back. I didn't even have time to see him or talk to him. Is he leaving already?" Once those words were spoken, everyone present was stunned. As for the young man who was questioned, he wanted to speak, but he didn't know what to say. At this moment, the person who spoke was none other than the current sect leader of the Xuanzong sect, Lin Yun, and his daughter, Lin Ling Er. The grandfather and father they were talking about was naturally Lin Rei. Looking at his daughter, Lin Yun's face was sad. Just like Lin Ling Er, he was full of reluctance. "Yes, your grandfather pursues the peak of the Tao. He has to improve his strength, so sigh." With that, Lin Yun didn't continue. To be honest, he really wanted to leave everything here and follow Lin Rei. But he knew that Lin Rei wouldn't allow it. His father wouldn't allow it, so Lin Yun didn't ask for a rebuff. "Oh, you're all here?" However, the atmosphere suddenly grew quiet. Not long after, a voice was heard. In response to that, the crowd that heard those words all turned their heads to look. They saw two young men standing at the entrance of the hall, looking at everything with smiles on their faces. Fa father, grandfather, it was none other than Lin Rei, who had walked out of the mystery realm. As for the other person, it was naturally Xian Yuan. I'm back. Looking at Lin Ray smiled. Then, he came to the front of the crowd. Looking at them, Lin Ray said, "You must already know that I'm leaving this time. Perhaps when we meet again, we'll be in the holy world." "What? Father, you're not coming back?" Hearing Lin Ray's words, Lin Yun was shocked. He didn't think that his father would leave and not come back. Huh? Looking at the shock on his son's face, Lin Ray smiled and nodded. "That's right. You don't have to be like this. I believe that we'll meet again in the holy world soon." Lin Yun wanted to say something, but looking at the current situation, he was afraid at this moment. Lin Yun fell silent. His expression was filled with reluctance. Lin Ray sighed. He had always felt guilty towards Lin Yun. Remember, although you're the sect master of the Xuanzong sect, you must raise your cultivation as soon as possible. I've already intimidated all the sects in the divine world for you. I believe that they won't come out to make trouble for you in the short term. Also, I'll be leaving with some of my old subordinates. Of course, I'll leave you with some resources. I'll bring them into the holy world and let them help you establish a world that can protect you. When the time comes, it'll be much easier for you to enter the holy world. Chapter 840. Father, hearing these words, everyone fell silent. As for Lin Yun, because of these words, he shed tears. The Grand Master of a powerful sect was now shedding tears. He had not expected his own father to work so hard just to give him a stable world. "TSK, you brat." Looking at his son's tears, Lin Ray's heart was moved. His heart was filled with warmth. At this moment, Lin Ray felt that everything he did was worth it. "All right, you're already a few thousand years old, yet you're still crying. How can you lead the sect to prosperity like this? I'm still waiting to see you in the saint's world." As he said that, he raised his hand and patted Lin Yun's head as if he was patting a child. If the sects in the divine world were to see this scene, they would be shocked. They might even think that the world was abnormal. Although Lin Yun didn't make a move many times, it was still in everyone's heart. Lin Yun was the kind of person who didn't show any mercy to his enemies. But now he was like a child, allowing Lin Ray to pat his head. He even revealed a look of enjoyment. "Yes, I understand, Father. Don't worry, I will work hard and do my best. I hope to meet you in the holy world soon." At this moment, Lin Yun's heart was filled with determination. He wanted to become an expert who could protect his father and not just let his father protect him. Looking at Lin Yun's resolute gaze, everyone couldn't help smiling as they nodded their heads. They knew that this might be the time for Lin Yun to transform. "All right, Father will wait for the day when you're strong enough to protect me. I'll wait. If that's the case, I'll be able to live a peaceful life for a period of time." With a smile, he withdrew his hand. With a thought, he removed a dozen interspatial rings from the system and passed them to Lin Yun. "Take this with you. Right now, the sect is in the midst of development and resources are indispensable. These are all the resources that the Qinquan sect has accumulated since its inception. I believe that with these, the sect will be able to rise to another level." "Yes, I understand." Lin Yun didn't reject the dozen interspatial rings in front of him and directly accepted them. He knew that these things were indispensable if he wanted to become a powerhouse. If he wanted to chase after Lin Ray, then he had to accept these resources. As the saying goes, wealth, magic, companionship, and land. Wealth was the most important thing. "Oh, right." Seeing his son accept it, Lin Ray smiled. "Your uncle Tian was sent out by me to create an information sect. I don't know how he is doing after being separated for so many years. If you have time, go and find him. Find a reliable person to replace him and let him cultivate well. His talent is better than yours." Uncle Tian, looking at Lin Ray in a daze, he said, "I was wondering why I haven't seen Uncle Tian in a while. So it turns out that you were sent out by Father." Lin Ray nodded. "Then what's the name of the sect? I'll find him too. After not seeing him for so long, I miss him," Lin Yun said with a smile. When he was in the immortal world, it was Lin Tian who sent him away. It was because of this that he had his current achievements. It was also because of that his brother and aunt died. The Celestial Arcanum Sect is usually in the form of a restaurant. As for the night, I don't know what it's like. You'll have to find out yourself. Isn't there an information department in the sect? Instruct them to search for it. This way, you'll have more time to cultivate. Understand, father. Hearing his father's arrangement, Lin Yun wasn't unhappy. After all, this sect was created by his father, and he was forced to take over by Lin Ray. That's good. Seeing Lin Yun nod, Lin Ray smiled and turned to the others. Looking at them, Lin Ray said, Bai Qi and the rest will leave with me. As for Kuei Gang, you guys will stay here and guard the sect. When the sect's strength increases, you can decide to leave and enter the holy world. As for Blood 36 and the others, more than half of them are currently outside searching for natural treasures. After a period of time, we will bring them back and let the alchemists of the sect refine pills for them. At this point, the entire sect will enter closed-door cultivation. Only when all disciples have reached the late-stage God Emperor or middle-stage God Emperor realm can they come out. Do you understand? At this moment, there was nothing but excitement in everyone's hearts. Looking at Lin Ray's orders, they felt as if they had returned to the immortal world and returned to the time when Xian Tian had just founded the sect. In their bodies, a wave of boiling hot blood was lying there. They liked this feeling very much. Yes, Sect Master Lin Yun will definitely bring glory to the sect and enter the holy world as soon as possible to meet you. Put on. The sound of kneeling could be heard. The people who had been standing upright all knelt on the ground and looked at Lin Ray with respect. Rise. Looking at them, Lin Ray smiled and nodded. Any one of these people would be an expert if they went out. They stood up and didn't say anything. They just stood there quietly and looked at Lin Ray, waiting for his next instructions. Looking at them, Lin Ray smiled helplessly. All right, I'm no longer the sect master. I'll have to ask you to take care of my son in the future. However, remember, if he does anything wrong, feel free to discipline him. After all, the basic money here belongs to this little guy's elders. Yes, father is right. Please give me your guidance. Lin Yun didn't dare to refute Lin Li's words. Instead, he had to agree with him. Okay. Nodding, Lin Yun's last wish was fulfilled. There was no need for him to bring Lin Yun down here. There was still a troublesome matter waiting for him in the 9th province. Thinking about it, Lin Ray sighed and said, Let's go. With that, Lin Ray turned around and rushed out of the hall. However, just as Lin Ray turned around, a voice filled with reluctance rang out. Grandfather, I don't want to be separated from you. I want to leave with you and pursue the truth of the great Tao. Oh, hearing this, Lin Yun stopped in his tracks. He turned his head curiously. At this moment, a little girl was standing not far away, looking at him with a determined gaze. Ha, little Ling, you're still young and your cultivation isn't strong. When you're strong enough to protect yourself, grandfather will definitely take you away. However, it's not suitable for you now, so stay at home and cultivate obediently. When you become a number 1 in the God world, I might consider it. Hearing Lin Li's words, Lin Ling, paused for a moment, but then her words became firm again. Her voice was sonorous and forceful, as if she had decided to accept Lin Li's words. All right, you said it. When the time comes, I'll definitely become the number 1 in the God world. When the time comes, you can't go back on your words. Okay. Grandfather definitely won't go back on his words. Of course, when Lin Ray said this, he still felt a little shameless. After all, when his granddaughter became the number 1 in the God world, he would have already reached the Saint world. Okay. Hearing Lin Ray's words, Lin Ling nodded heavily and hid this matter deep in her heart. However, Lin Ray didn't know that because of his words, Lin Ling worked very hard and finally became the number 1 in the God world in the shortest time possible. But it was also because of this. The sects in the God world had been bullied by her many times. Okay, let's go. Seeing that the matter had been resolved naturally, he looked at Lin Yun and the others again, then turned around and rushed back to the sect. Whoosh, His speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared from Lin Yun and the other's sight. The matter was resolved just like that, and Lin Ray once again embarked on his journey. Sai, let's go. Looking at his father and the others who had disappeared from his sight, Lin Yun sighed. His face was filled with disappointment. Yeah, let's go. I don't know when we'll meet again. Lin Ling nodded at the side. In silence, the father and son looked in the direction Lin Ray and the others left in a daze. The two of them didn't say anything, just looked at each other like that. Time passed little by little, and after an unknown amount of time, Lin Ling came back to her senses. With a determined gaze, she looked at her father and said, "Father, I plan to leave." Sigh. I knew that you wouldn't give up so easily. There was no surprise, only a sigh. How could he not know his daughter's thoughts? Yes, I want to catch up to grandfather's footsteps. I want to become a supreme existence. I want to stand at the peak of the Tao. I want to stand together with grandfather. Filled with determination, she said to him. However, hearing his daughter's words, Lin Yun's body trembled. He lowered his head to look at his daughter beside him, and in her, Lin Yun saw the shadow of his father, that kind of determined and courageous figure. He knew that he couldn't stop her. All right, since you decided, then do what you want to do. But Lin Yun seemed to have thought of something as he said, "Go and see your mother before you leave. After all, we don't know when you'll be back." Okay, I'll go now. Hearing this, Lin Ling was stunned. Then she nodded in agreement, turned around, and rushed into the depths of the Xuanzong sect. Looking at his daughter's departing figure, Lin Yun sighed, his face filled with envy. How great would it be if I could be like you? Time passed little by little. At the entrance of vast Origin City in the northern part of the 9th Prefecture, a group of people majestically walked over from afar. They didn't walk very quickly, as if they were looking at the scenery, chatting and laughing as they walked. Husband, is this the northern part of the 9th Prefecture? At this moment, there were two women following behind the young man. The women's figures were covered by loose clothes. As for their faces, they were covered by a veil. However, what was exposed was extremely white like jade. Their skin was as white as ice, and their bones were as white as jade. They gave people the feeling that they would fall in love at first sight. One look, and one would know that they were beauties. At this moment, a woman in purple clothes asked the young man in the lead. Yes, that's right, this is vast Origin City in the northern part. However, I've never been here before. Although I've been here before, it was for the purpose of cultivation, so the young man shrugged as if he didn't know anything. Oh, in response, the woman didn't ask any more questions. Instead, she obediently kept quiet. Young master, I'll go and book a room for you first. When you arrive, everything will be ready. However, at this moment, the moment the woman in purple clothes stopped talking, a young man walked over from behind and said, "Okay, that's good too. In that case, Ming, you can go with Bai Qi. Be careful on the way and don't cause any trouble." At this moment, the person who spoke was none other than Lin Ray and the others who had left the Xuanzong sect. After several months of arduous travel, Lin Ray had finally led them to the 9th province. At the same time, this was also the first city they saw after arriving in the 9th province. Beside him were his two beautiful wives, Bing and Ing. After hearing Lin Ray's instructions, Ming walked out from the crowd and bowed to Lin Ray. Then, she left with Bai Qi and quickly walked toward vast Origin City. Let's go. Seeing the two people's figures gradually getting farther and farther away, Lin Ray lifted his foot and walked forward. At this moment, Lin Wanyu and the others who had followed behind him couldn't help but exclaim, "TSK, the city in the 9th province is much more magnificent than the other 8 provinces of the Divine Realm. It's really, simply, that's right, this place, oh, a beauty?" Suddenly, before Lin Yuro could finish her words, a voice filled with flutation sounded from the side. The voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't soft either. As a hierarch, Linley naturally heard it and was attracted by the voice. Among Lin Ray and the others, the person with the lowest cultivation was still a god emperor. Therefore, when they heard the voice, They all became interested and began to watch the show. What did you say? At this moment, Lin Wanyu, who was being flirted with, was stunned. She turned her head and saw an extremely handsome young man holding a folding fan in his hand and wearing luxurious clothes. With a single glance, one could tell that he was a young man from a wealthy family. However, when Lin Wanyu saw the greed and lust in the young man's deep affection, her expression suddenly changed. Beauty, this young master is the son of vast Origin City's city lord, Fong Hun, Fong Xiaoyan. Furthermore, I am the personal disciple of the Rain Sect's elder Tian Lin. How about it? Why don't you follow this young master into vast Origin City and find a restaurant? We can eat while discussing life philosophy. What do you think? Hearing Fong Xiaoyan's words, everyone present, including Lin Rei, was stunned. Their expressions were filled with astonishment. Is he fucking courting death? Chapter 841. At this moment, everyone was looking at Fong Xiaoyan as though they were looking at an idiot. They had never thought that Lin Wanyu would be teased by someone like that. Naturally, the moment Fong Xiaoyan teased Lin Wanyu, everyone could already see the future of Fong Xiaoyan and the future of vast Origin City. They could also see the end of his father, Fong Hun. Looks like our little Yu is quite popular. At this moment, Lin Li couldn't help but say, "Yeah." Everyone stared in shock at Lin Li's words. Of course, Lin Wanyu heard it as well, and her face turned red with embarrassment. Of course, the only thing she felt toward Lin Li and Fong Xiaoyan, who had dared to flirt with her, was fury, boundless fury. Ever since she started cultivating, even though there were people who dared to tease her, in the end, those who dared to tease her could only happily walk on the road to the Yellow Springs. But ever since she entered the divine world, she had never heard of anyone who dared to tease her. That was because of her strength and the reputation of the Xuanzong sect. But now, at this moment, she actually heard someone teasing her. Furthermore, looking at Fong Xiaoyan's cultivation, he was merely a deity emperor. In the divine world, he was at most a lower middle-level existence. Lin Wanyu could not figure out who exactly gave him the guts to tease a middle-stage god emperor. After calming herself down, Lin Wanyu ignored the gazes of the surrounding people. Instead, her gaze landed on Fong Xiaoyan. Looking at him coldly, she spoke. "You are called Fong Xiaoyan? What is your father's cultivation? Also, what kind of power is the Rain Sect you mentioned? And what is the cultivation of that so-called Elder Tian Lin you mentioned?" One question after another was asked by Lin Wanyu. Although she was not afraid at all, she still wanted to know. She wanted to know who could raise such a despicable disciple. She wanted to see who it was that could relieve the hatred in her heart. Looks like little Yu is furious. She intends to teach everyone related to him a lesson. Meanwhile, Lin Li frowned, and then his brows relaxed as he spoke. "Sigh, how pitiful. I hope that Elder Heavenly Qilin won't personally deal with him once he finds out that his last disciple has offended a god emperor." At this moment, Lin Rei and the others were speaking very softly. Only a few people could hear them. "My father's cultivation is very strong. He's a godly lord and a city lord with countless subordinates. In this place, my father is the emperor. As long as my father speaks, no one dares to say no." As he spoke, Fong Xiaoyan's face was filled with pride. It was as if he was talking about himself, as if he was the king of this place. "As for my master, Elder Tian Lin, he is an outer court elder of the Rain Sect. His cultivation is at the late stage of the Divine Lord realm, and he has countless disciples. As for the Rain Sect, it's one of the 7 great sects in the entire God realm. Tell me, am I strong or not? I'm the young city lord of a city, and I'm also a disciple of the Rain Sect. If you follow me, I guarantee that you'll live a good life, and you'll be able to do whatever you want in the God realm." As he spoke, Fong Xiaoyan couldn't help but pat his chest and half open his eyes. In response, Lin Rei and the others looked at the silly Fong Xiaoyan with a smile. Among them, Jian was laughing so hard that he was swaying back and forth. The amused smile on his face was even more obvious. "Rain Sect? Heh! Others might not know, but he was very clear. Back in the ancient corpse trove, several old ancestors of the Rain Sect were killed by Lin Ray, not to mention the Rain Sect. Of course, he would say this out loud. Since Lin Ray didn't say anything, why should he? Eat good food and drink spicy wine. Hearing Fong Xiaoyan's words, Lin Wanyu's complexion became extremely ugly. Regarding this bastard in front of her, she wanted to kill him. No. Make him beg for death. Thinking about this, Lin Wanyu turned her head and looked at Lin Ray. Her expression was filled with questions. Do as you see fit. You can do whatever you want. Understanding her meaning, Lin Ray shrugged and said indifferently, and I understand. After getting Lin Ray's approval, Lin Wanyu was completely relaxed. After all, she had just arrived. Without Lin Ray's approval, she wouldn't dare to act recklessly, but now, it was different. With Lin Ray's approval, she would naturally take her revenge. However, when Fong Xiaoyan, who was originally smiling, heard the conversation between Lin Ray and Lin Wanyu, he felt the atmosphere suddenly become heavy. His body couldn't help but tremble at this moment. This feeling made Fong Xiaoyan very uncomfortable. It was as if a poisonous snake had locked him in place. It made his entire body uncomfortable. Fong Xiaoyan, right? At this moment, Lin Wanyu moved. Looking at him, she walked step by step towards him. However, Fong Xiaoyan didn't think about what would happen to him. At this moment, he only knew that there was a beauty in front of him, and she was walking towards him. In his eyes, Lin Wanyu was walking towards him to throw herself into his arms. Therefore, Fong Xiaoyan nodded and said without the slightest scruple, "Of course, I am Fong Xiaoyan, your future husband. Come." Ha. Arrogant laughter came from Fong Xiaoyan's mouth. At this moment, the entire place was filled with silence. Only Fong Xiaoyan's laughter could be heard. Very good, very good. Looking at Fong Xiaoyan, Lin Wanyu was stunned. Then, she continued, "Ever since this young lady started on the path of cultivation, I have never seen someone who doesn't care about his life. You dare to tease this young lady. How many lives do you think you have? Divine Sovereign? Is he very strong? Rain Sect, is he very strong?" Her expression was filled with disdain as she looked at Fong Xiaoyan. "Do you want to know what happened to the person who teased this young lady before?" Hearing Lin Wanyu's words, Fong Xiaoyan was stunned and subconsciously asked, What happened?" At this moment, even the dumbest person would feel that something was wrong. Moreover, at this moment, a trace of danger rose in his heart. A voice rang in his mind. Run, quickly leave this place." Of course, Fong Xiaoyan only thought that this voice was a hallucination. After all, as the saying goes, if one dies under a peony flower, it is still romantic even if one becomes a ghost. Lin Wanyu sneered and stood in front of Fong Xiaoyan. She coldly said, "Those who tried to tease this young lady are all dead." Hiss what? Hearing this, Fong Xiaoyan's heart trembled. At the same time, he finally knew what was wrong. However, it was already too late, because at this moment, a hand had already appeared in front of him. "Pa!" The sound of slap rang out. After hearing this, the people who came and went were all stunned. F***CK. Isn't this the son of City Lord Fong Hun? This beast is doing something outrageous again. Tisk outrageous? I don't think so. Didn't you see that he was slapped just now? I feel that this time, Fong Xiaoyan seems to have kicked an iron plate. TSK. Look at this group of people. If they're not from sects, then they are from aristocratic families. I feel that this time, Fong Xiaoyan might have really provoked a powerful faction. At this moment, the people who came and went began to chat in their minds. They all knew Fong Xiaoyan. Fong Xiaoyan, they only had a few words for him. Beast, worse than a beast. Why didn't the heavens take him away? Of course, Lin Ray and the others did not know these words in the minds of the passers-by. At this moment, Lin Ray was completely in a state of watching a show. You hit me? At this moment, Fong Xiaoyan recovered from his shock. A burning sensation came from his left cheek. At this moment, other than shock, he was endlessly stunned. He really did not expect that in front of his own house, he would be slapped in the face. Moreover, it was by the woman he liked. Hit you? Lin Wanyu looked at Fang Xiaoyun as if she was looking at an idiot. Do you think that hitting you can eliminate the hatred in this young lady's heart? Don't you think it's too cheap? What you? Hearing this, Fang Xiaoyun's expression changed. Finally, he realized that something was wrong. You? What do you want? This is vast Origin City, a place under the jurisdiction of the Rain Sect. You? Stuttering, he used the faction behind him to threaten Lin Wanyu. However, Fang Xiaoyun did not know that because of him, his entire family was on the path of destruction. Oh, vast Origin City. How amazing. Looking at Fang Xiaoyun, Lin Wanyu was suddenly shocked. But soon, her originally shocked expression turned into disdain and contempt. It was as if what he said was nothing. Crack! Ah! The sound of bones breaking suddenly rang out. Accompanying the sound was a melodious scream of pain. Plop! Fang Xiaoyun, who was originally standing, was now lying on the ground, holding his left leg. His face was contorted in pain. Because of the pain, his expression became sinister. Cold sweat instantly covered his face, and his complexion became extremely pale. "Oh, bastard, you stinking bitch, you actually dry tongue." Hearing Fang Xiaoyun's curses, Lin Wanyu frowned. Immediately, she threw a hand seal into Fang Xiaoyun's mouth. PFFF. The instant Lin Wanyu's hand seal entered Fang Xiaoyun's mouth, a mouthful of blood spurted out. Accompanying the blood was a piece of flesh. If one looked carefully, one would be able to see that it was flesh. Moreover, it was a tongue. Fang Xiaoyun's head. Ugh. Ah! A groaning sound came from Fang Xiaoyun's mouth. However, at this moment, Fang Xiaoyun was no longer holding his left leg. Instead, he was holding his mouth with his hand. He looked at Lin Wanyu, at this beautiful but extremely cruel woman. He was afraid. He regretted it. If he had known that this would be the result, he would not have done this. Moreover, he realized that when Lin Wanyu attacked, he did not react at all. It was not that he did not want to, but that he did not see how Lin Wanyu attacked. What's going on? What's going on? Suddenly, a furious roar sounded. At this moment, just as Fang Xiaoyun was screaming in pain, a pair of armored guards came from afar. In response, Lin Ray frowned and his face darkened. It was as if this group of people had interrupted a good show. He was very unhappy. It's over, it's over. These are the guards of vast Origin City. They are Fang Hun's private soldiers. Sai, who said otherwise? Now that Fang Xiaoyun has become like this, those private soldiers will definitely not let this matter rest. Moreover, Fang Hun only has one son. They will definitely not let this matter rest. Sai, these people are in danger. Oh, private soldiers? Hearing the discussions around him, Linley's face was filled with a cold smile. Since they are private soldiers, then there's no need to keep them. This subordinate will be back soon. However, at this moment, when Tianyun heard Lin Ray's words, he understood tacitly. He immediately left the crowd and slowly walked towards the group of private soldiers. Woo! At this moment, no one was happier than Fang Xiaoyun. When he heard the words of the private soldiers, he felt a sense of hope. In order to attract the attention of the private soldiers, Fang Xiaoyun ignored the pain of having his tongue cut off and began to whimper with all his might. On the other side, the private soldier who was walking towards Linley's group heard the strange noise and looked over. His gaze fell on Fang Xiaoyun, who was lying on the ground with a mouth full of blood and a savage face. Immediately, he frowned, and a baleful aura erupted from his body. Are all of you seeking death? Even my young master dares to treat you in such a manner. You all, enough, come at me together. If I kill all of you, I'll have to report back to my superiors. Just when the leader of the private soldiers was halfway through speaking, Tianyun arrived and stood in front of them with a look of disdain. You are with that group as well? The leader of the private soldiers asked with a frown. Sigh. Then, why do you all have to talk so much nonsense before attacking? Looking at them, Tianyun sighed and shook his head. Then, his expression froze, and a sharp aura burst out. I gave you all a chance, but you didn't cherish it. since that's the case, then this sovereign will be the first to attack. What? Hearing this, the leader of the private soldiers was stunned. However, when he looked over, there was still a figure in front of him. Not good. Be on guard. At this moment, he knew that this person's cultivation was extremely high. As for how high, he didn't know. However, he knew that this person's cultivation was higher than his. However, the moment he said that, miserable cries came from behind him. Following the miserable cries were the sounds of people falling down. Hearing this, the leader of the private soldiers was shocked and quickly turned around. However, what he saw was something he would never forget for the rest of his life. At this moment, the 20 or so guards who came with him were no longer like before. They were all in high spirits. At this moment, they were all lying on the ground. Bright red blood had already corroded the ground. Who exactly are you? Looking at Tianyun, who was standing in the middle of the corpses, the leader of the private soldiers asked. At this moment, he knew that he had lost this time. You don't need to know. All you need to know is that your beloved city lord will be reunited with you very soon. After saying that, without waiting for the leader of the private soldiers to respond, Tianyun's figure flashed past them and walked toward Lin Ray. Puffed, puffed. A line of blood appeared on the throat of the leader of the private soldiers. In an instant, a gush of hot blood spurted out like a fountain. How could this be? Feeling the strange sensation in his throat, the leader raised his hand subconsciously and wiped his throat. Then he placed his hand in front of his eyes. When he saw the bright red blood, his vision blurred. Then everything turned black and his body fell backward. Just like that, a group of elites in vast Origin City was killed in a few breaths. Chapter 842. Whoa. Originally, when he saw the private soldier, a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes. However, when he saw the private soldier being killed in an instant, he completely despaired. Others might not know, but he knew it very well. Although they were all guards, they were all existences in the divine ancestor realm. Thus, to be able to kill them in an instant, let alone a divine ancestor realm expert, even his father, Fong Hun, who was a Lord God, would not be able to do so. At this moment, he finally knew what kind of people he had offended. There were people he couldn't afford to offend. His family couldn't afford to offend. Even the Rain Sect couldn't afford to offend them. Looking at the private soldier's corpse lying in a pool of blood, Fong Xiaoyun forgot about the pain. He smiled bitterly and collapsed on the ground powerlessly. His face was filled with endless regret. He hated himself for being so useless. He hated himself for being so insensible. He hated his mistake for harming the entire Fong clan. He hated everything he had done. Now that he thought about it, he realized how much of a beast he was, how insensible he was, how disgusting he was. However, no matter how much he regretted it, it was too late. He couldn't hold on to anything. What happened yesterday couldn't be left behind. Today, there were too many things to worry about. Everything he had done in the past, everything he had done would be paid for here today. This was his retribution. However, in the end, he had implicated the entire Fong clan. He felt extremely guilty. All right, I won't kill you now. Since you said that your father is powerful, I'll let you know that your so-called powerful father is nothing more than an ant in my eyes. Looking at Fong Xiaoyun, Lin Wanyu said with disdain, as for your family, we'll talk about it when the time comes. Lying on the ground, listening to the voice of the Grim Reaper, he looked at Lin Wanyu with a relieved smile. He no longer resisted. He no longer cried out in pain. It was as if he had already gotten used to the pain. It was as if he had gotten used to it. Since you've decided, let's go to the Fong clan together. We'll see how this Fong Hun managed to raise such a rebellious son. At this moment, looking at Lin Wanyu, Lin Ray walked out with a smile. Looking at him, Lin Ray patted his shoulder and said, Amen, I understand, Master. After obtaining Lin Ray's permission, Lin Wanyu naturally had to go through with it. After all, the anger in her heart had yet to be eliminated. Let's go. As he spoke, he glanced at the nearby goo foam. Linley instructed, take young Master Fong to Vast Origin City. Let's see what sort of person the city governor of Vast Origin City, Fong Hun, is for him to actually allow his son to wreak havoc. Yes, this subordinate. Hearing Linley's orders, Gu Feng, who had been standing in the middle of the crowd and hadn't said a word, bowed and led himself to Fong Xiaoyun, who was covered in blood and lying on the ground. Remember, if there's a next life of the 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 next of your life, remember of the Lin, and just like a balloon, spirit chi transformed into a string. One end was grabbed by Gu Feng, and the other end was pulled above the energy in the air. Seeing Gu Feng's actions, Lin Rei smiled and said, "Let's go." At this moment, Lin Rei and the others moved. They began to walk toward the city gates. As for Lin Wanyu and the others, none of them dared to make a sound. They followed Lin Rei into the city. It seems that the Fong clan is finished this time. This time, the scourge Fong Xiaoyun is finally eliminated. Those who were harmed by him will finally be able to live a peaceful life. That's right. Fong Xiaoyun has been eliminated, but there's still Fong Xiaoyun's mother, Mrs. Han. Although on the surface, it seems that City Lord Fong Hun is backing her. To be honest, I'm certain that Mrs. Han is behind all of this. That's right. Every time City Lord Fong Hun inspects the city, those who were harmed by Fong Xiaoyun are all imprisoned. As a result, after so many years, Vast Origin City has become like this. I'm certain that the main culprit is Mrs. Han. Sigh. At this point, everyone couldn't help but sigh. How they hoped that Vast Origin City would return to its previous state after this incident. Although it would still be somewhat chaotic, at the very least, there wouldn't be another incident like Fong Xiaoyun's. Vast Origin City. In the central region of the city, there was an extremely majestic house that occupied an area of over 1,000 feet. One couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. The city lord's mansion was the name of this majestic house. At this moment, in the deepest part of the mansion, in a simple and unadorned room, a middle-aged man was sitting cross-legged on a bed. His brows were tightly knitted, and his face was filled with doubt. The spiritual energy in the surroundings was also extremely chaotic. What's going on? Why am I having this feeling at this time? This shouldn't be. Sensing the hope coming from his surroundings and his body, the man's heart was filled with doubt. Report! Suddenly, a loud shout came from outside the door. The shout was so loud that the middle-aged man, who was originally in a bad mood, immediately stopped cultivating. His brows were tightly knitted, but his expression was extremely gentle. Moreover, his appearance was extremely inconsistent with the gentleness in his expression. It was as if he had the appearance of a man and the expression of a woman. He raised his head and looked outside the door. At this moment, the middle-aged man had already gotten down from the bed. Moreover, he walked up to the door and extended his hand to open it. What's so urgent? What kind of scandal is this to make you lose your manners? At this moment, the instant the door opened, the face of the person outside was revealed. At this moment, a young man was standing at the door. His body was bowed, and he didn't dare to raise his head. His forehead was covered in cold sweat, and his body was trembling violently. It was as if something that terrified him had happened. Upon hearing the middle-aged man's voice, the young man's trembling body calmed down a lot. Then, he raised his head and stuttered, "See, City Lord, this is bad." "Why, young City Lord?" "Young City Lord, Amen. What happened to him? Isn't he cultivating in the Rain Sect? What happened?" Hearing his subordinate's report, the middle-aged man started to frown. His heart trembled. He felt that what the young man wanted to say was related to his son. At this moment, the middle-aged man was none other than Vast Origin City City Lord, Fong Xiaoyun's father, and Madame Han's husband, Fong Hun. Looking at his subordinate, Fong Hun asked, "Speak, what happened to my son?" At this moment, Fong Hun, who didn't know what was going on, had no idea that his son was already half dead. Young City Lord. He was beaten by someone. H's left hand and left leg were broken. Furthermore, what? Fong Hun was greatly alarmed. He had wholeheartedly immersed himself in cultivation. Thus, he felt extremely guilty toward Feng Shaoyan. In the end, he even personally went to the Rain Sect to plead for leniency so that Feng Shaoyan could continue to cultivate in the Rain Sect. Never did he expect that his subordinate would actually tell him that his son had an arm and a leg broken by someone. Of course, although he was astonished, Feng Hun did not lose his rationality. Instead, he continued to question the young man. "What else did you say? Tell me everything." Sigh. Hearing that, the young man nodded. At the city gate tower, the guard saw that young master's arms and legs were broken. Thus, they immediately went up to question the young master and ordered him to release the young master. However, a person suddenly appeared. That person faced over 20 guards by himself. That person's expression changed as if Mount Tai was about to collapse. In merely a few breaths' time, over 20 of our brothers were instantly killed. We didn't even have the slightest opportunity to fight back. SSSS. Hearing those words, Feng Hun's expression changed. He was unable to restrain himself from sucking in a mouthful of cold air. He knew his subordinates very well. They were all divine ancestor realm cultivators. Even he would not be able to instantly kill experts like them. Chu Fei. Chu Fei's cultivation was stronger than his. He was a martial emperor. Only a martial emperor would possess such strength. Go and prepare some tea and some fruit platters. Bring them to the main hall. Soon, guests will arrive in the mansion. At that moment, Feng Hun had an ugly expression on his face. His body started to tremble slightly. Yes, this subordinate understands. When Feng Hun raised his head and saw the city lord trembling, he knew that this matter was truly serious. Haha, City Lord Feng is truly a sensible person. You even prepared tea when you knew that this venerated one and the others would be coming. Suddenly, at the instant Feng Hun gave the order, a man's voice sounded from afar. "They're here." Hearing that voice, Feng Hun sighed in his heart. Then, he soared into the sky and looked toward the direction of the city gate. At that moment, a group of people was rapidly flying toward them. With a single glance, Feng Hun knew that they were the group of people that his subordinate had reported to him earlier. Shaoyan. After Feng Hun's gaze swept past the group of people, his gaze finally landed on Feng Shaoyan, who was in Gufeng's hand. His entire body was drenched in blood. Seeing his son in such a state, Feng Hun's body trembled. He staggered and nearly fell from the sky. This lord is the city lord of vast origin city, Feng Hun. Seniors, would it be possible for you all to have a seat in the main hall? Looking at Linley and the others, Feng Hun bowed in an extremely respectful manner. Amen? This person, is he really this little fellow's father? Seeing that Feng Hun was so polite and courteous, without any arrogance at all, Linley was stunned. It was not only Lin Rei. Even Ing, Bing Dong, and the others were the same. They had seen Feng Shaoyan before. However, when they saw Feng Hun, they did not expect that arrogant, despotic, and profligate bastard to be the child of this person before them. After regaining his senses, Lin Rei looked at Feng Hun and said, "Haha, since City Lord Feng is like this, then this venerated one and the others will be troubling you." Although one could not tell whether a person was good or bad from the surface, one could tell from the person's eyes. Lin Rei could only see heartache, respect, and doubt in Feng Hun's eyes. In response, Lin Rei began to reconsider his previous decision. Should he destroy this place? Should he kill Feng Hun? This was the first time Lin Rei had such a thought. Although Lin Rei did not consider himself a good person, at the very least, he would not be a reluctant person who would persecute people for no reason. After hearing Lin Rei and the others' agreement, Feng Hun smiled and quickly said, "You're too kind. It's my honor to have Senior here. There's no need to say that I'm imposing on you. Senior, this way, please." Amen, all right. After saying that, Feng Hun led the way to the main hall. They were not far away from the main hall. At this moment, tea and fruit platters were already placed in the main hall. Feng Hun, who had checked the main hall, heaved a sigh of relief. He carefully walked to the entrance of the main hall. After standing still, He made an inviting gesture to Lin Ray and the others. "Senior, this way please." "Ha!" Seeing Fong Hun act so courteously, Lin Li chuckled, then led them into the guest hall. The main hall was very big. Lin Ray and the others could sit down, but it was not crowded. Moreover, there were still empty seats. Lin Ray and the others sat down. As for Fong Xiaoyan, he was released from the energy barrier by Gu Feng. Plop! The energy barrier was released. Fong Xiaoyan fell to the ground like a dead dog. His entire body was in pain, and he was powerless. He laid on the ground without moving, except for his eyes. At this moment, Fong Hun walked in and looked at his son. His heart ached. However, he did not go forward. Instead, he cupped his fist and looked at Lin Ray. He asked, "Senior, how did my good-for-nothing son offend you?" Your son is so shameless. I just arrived at the entrance of the city, and he immediately insulted me. Moreover, he relied on the pressure of you, the city lord, and that Rain Sect's elder Tianlin to force me to submit. Tell me, does Emperor need to show mercy to such a person?" At this moment, before Lin Ray could say anything, Lin Wanyu opened her mouth and said angrily. Of course, Lin Wanyu knew that this matter was not as simple as she thought. After all, if Fong Hun was really that kind of person who bullied others, how could he be so courteous right now? If it was someone else, they would have already ordered people to surround this place and kill them. What? Take liberties, take liberties. Hearing Lin Wanyu's words, Fong Hun was shocked. Emperor, other than God emperors, who would dare to call themselves that? However, what shocked Fong Hun even more was that his son actually dared to do such a shameless thing. Even if Lin Wanyu was not a God emperor, taking liberties with a young lady was already very excessive. Facing this, Fong Hun's expression immediately became gloomy. Although he was usually very important to his son, he could not afford to lose face like this. As the lord of a city, his son actually dared to do such a thing. How was he supposed to face himself? "Bastard, you unfilial son, your father is usually very important to you. You, what have you done? How did your mother teach you?" After saying that, he raised his head and ordered the guards at the entrance. "Go, call the madam out. Only call her. As for what happened here, do not speak of it. Today, I want to see exactly how his mother teaches her son. Do you understand?" Chapter 843. Haha. Seeing Fong Hun like this, everyone knew that perhaps what Fong Xiaoyan did had nothing to do with them. Looking at him, Lin Ray couldn't help but pout. He picked up the teacup on the table and began to taste the tea. As a cultivator, Fong Hun might be very determined, but as a father, there was no doubt that he was a failure. Of course, Lin Ray and the others couldn't ask for leave. At this moment, they just wanted to see what Fong Hun would do next. The scene fell into silence, and the atmosphere was filled with awkwardness and seriousness. Especially Fong Hun. He looked at Lin Li and the others, and then looked at the disheartened expression on the ground. For a moment, he did not know what to do. "Report, father is here." Suddenly, a voice sounded. In the hall, other than Lin Ray, everyone's eyes were focused on the entrance of the hall. Everyone wanted to see who the Madam Fong Hun was talking about was. However, at this moment, a silhouette dressed in luxurious clothes slowly walked to the entrance of the hall. The silhouette walked into the crowd's line of sight. "Master, when did you come out of seclusion? Why didn't you inform me in advance so that I could greet you in advance?" A voice full of awkwardness and coquettishness came from the noble lady at the door. At this moment, the middle-aged woman came into view. Regardless of whether she was a beauty or not, just by looking at the jewelry on her body, everyone knew that this woman was a disaster. She twisted her body and said as she came to Fong Hun's side. She reached out to pull Fong Hun, but who knew that the moment the woman's hand was about to touch Fong Hun's figure flashed and cleverly dodged the madam's action. Looking at the dodging Fong Hun, the madam's hand stopped in midair. Her breathing suddenly became quiet. The madam originally had a smile on her face. At this moment, her face was gloomy, and a trace of gloominess flashed across her face. perhaps in the eyes of others. He hid his expression very well. However, in Lin Ray's divine sense, there was nowhere to hide. It could even be said that it was exposed without a doubt. Moreover, just a moment ago, when Lin Ray extended his divine sense, he suddenly discovered something very interesting. Fong Xiaoyun, who was lying on the ground, had a completely different bloodline from Fong Hun. The two bloodlines did not seem to resonate with each other. Sensing this, the previously expressionless Lin Li revealed a hint of an amused smile. Generally speaking, if it was his own son, their bloodlines should resonate with each other, but at this moment, Fong Xiaoyun did not have this feeling at all. This meant that this Fong Xiaoyun might not be Fong Hun's biological son. Coupled with the change in the woman's expression, Lin Ray suddenly thought of something interesting. You always tell me how Xiaoyun usually behaves. Did he use his status as the city lord's young city lord to commit crimes outside? Did he bully others? What are you talking about? At this moment, hearing her husband's words, the madam's expression suddenly changed, and her body couldn't help but tremble. No, are you sure? Fong Hun clearly saw the change in the madam's expression, and her expression suddenly changed. Fong Hun's heart thumped, and a bad premonition appeared in his mind. He knew that what Fong Hun said might be true, or even more. Thinking of this, Fong Hun's gaze became sharp, and he took a step closer to the madam. He stared into her eyes, and an invisible pressure was emitted, and he asked again, Xiaoyun? Seeing her husband step closer, the madam couldn't help but take a step back, and her gaze became evasive. However, as she looked away, suddenly, she saw Fong Xiaoyun lying not far away, covered in blood. Suddenly, her expression changed, and she cried out in shock. With a plop, she ran past Fong Hun, directly to Fong Xiaoyun's side, and without caring about her image, she directly knelt down beside him and reached out her hand. Tears flowed from her eyes, and her face was extremely pale and filled with hatred. How could this be? Who was it? Who was it that broke my son's arm and leg? Who cut off my son's tongue? Who was it that was so cruel, so vicious? A furious roar came from the madam's mouth, and her voice was filled with coldness. In response to the madam's words, Fong Hun's body trembled, and the anticipation on his face completely disappeared. Although his madam was usually a bit troublesome and liked to act spoiled, this was the first time he had seen her in such a state. At the same time, he knew that his son had become like this because of her dereliction of duty as a mother. Perhaps she even knew about the evildoers outside. However, she didn't try to dissuade him, nor did she tell him. She even used her status as the city lord to put pressure on the outside world. Thinking of this, Fong Hun's body trembled, and he suddenly took a step back. His body went limp, and he sat down on the ground, a dazed expression on his face. At this time, Lin Ray, who hadn't said anything, saw this scene. He knew that he might have wrongly blamed Fong Hun, and felt a bit guilty. Looking at the madam and Fong Xiaoyun, Lin Ray smiled and said, "Just like what you said. Indeed, like mother, like son. How can such a mother teach a good thing?" At this moment, the madam, who was kneeling on the ground, holding her son in pain and speaking viciously from time to time, suddenly raised her head and looked in the direction of the voice. "What do you mean? My son, you didn't do this to him, did you?" The madam seemed to have realized something, and she suddenly stood up and looked at Lin Ray. "That's right. I did do this to your son." He didn't refuse, and he didn't want to lie, because he didn't need to. Furthermore, in order to clear his heart of guilt, he wanted to give Fong Hun some pointers. You bastard." Hearing the other party's confirmation, she subconsciously glanced at her son. Then, she turned her head and looked at her husband with a vicious tone. She said, "Husband, you should say something fair. The person who hurt our son is right here. Hurry up and refine and suppress him. Let Queen extract his soul, peel his skin and pull out his tendons. Let him suffer all kinds of torture. Let Queen put his soul into the 9 underworld water. Let him suffer day and night in the 9 underworld's water. Let him suffer for eternity as compensation for our son." After roaring angrily at Fong Hun, Wu Yin didn't say anything else. Instead, he smiled cruelly and looked at Lin Rei and the others, as if waiting for Fong Hun to make a move. However, everything didn't go as the madam expected. After waiting for a long time, her husband didn't make a move. For a moment, she couldn't help but be stunned. Then, with a puzzled expression, she turned to look at her husband. Why don't you make a move?" She looked at her husband, who was still sitting on the ground with a dazed expression. Looking at her husband, who was still unmoved, the madam was stunned. Her cold smile suddenly disappeared, and in the blink of an eye, it was replaced by a cruel smile. She said to the guards outside the door, "Fine. Since you don't want to do it, then let me end these people's lives as compensation for our son." We're the guards outside the door. "As the madam of the city lord, I order you to restrain this group of people." "Yes, we obey." Hearing the madam's order, the guards outside the door immediately rushed into the hall, intending to make a move. "Back down." Suddenly, just as they were about to rush into the hall, Fong Hun, who was sitting on the ground, suddenly shouted angrily, "It is true that you are the guards of the city lord's residence, but your job is to protect the city. Get out. Without my order, no one is allowed to enter this place. Do you understand?" Hearing those words, the guards looked at the madam, then looked at Fong Hun. Then, they all obeyed Fong Hun's order and left. Seeing how Fong Hun handled things, the madam's complexion alternated between green and red. Her face was filled with unsightly and resentment. She did not expect that her husband would actually stop her from taking revenge. She looked at him with disbelief. Her heart was filled with confusion and anger. Ha ha, ha ha ha. Having lost her chance, the madam raised her head and laughed loudly. Her face was filled with depression, helplessness, and sorrow. Only today did he find out that his son and his wife were completely different from what he had imagined. I never expected that my reputation would be ruined by the two of you. Originally, I thought that my son would be able to receive good training in the Rain Sect. But who would have thought? After saying that, Fong Hun suddenly stood up and looked at her with a sneer. "Do you know that your son was crippled because of teasing and causing trouble? No matter what happened to your son, he is still your son. Your own son was bullied by others, yet you don't care about it all. Instead, you're questioning me. Hey, is he really Fong Hun's son? I don't think so." At this moment, Lin Rei looked at the madam and said, "What?" Lin Rei's words caused everyone to look at Lin Rei. Of course, the madam who had saved the madam immediately looked away after hearing his words. It was as if something had stepped on her tail. What do you mean?" At this moment, Fong Hun spoke. At this moment, his tone was very abnormal. He was not shouting angrily. Instead, he was very calm. He was so calm that it made people's hair stand on end. Looking at Fong Hun, Lin glanced at the others. Smiling, he said, "TSK, actually it's nothing much. I just accidentally discovered that this so-called son of yours doesn't resonate with your bloodline at all. There's no feeling of him resonating at all. Normally, if it's your biological son, it shouldn't be like this. So, one thing is very clear about this matter. Fong Xiaoyun is not your son." After saying that, Lin Rei looked at the madam with interest and smiled. "Perhaps your wife knows about this matter." Schwa. Everyone's eyes all looked at the madam. At this moment, everyone looked at Fong Hun with a similar gaze. At the same time, some people looked at Fong Hun with sympathy. Fong Hun. Everyone felt deep sympathy for him. If this matter was true, then Fong Hun's green hat was really a professional. Not only did he wear a green hat, but he also helped her raise the child. TSK, TSK, TSK. Thinking about it, this matter really made people have the urge to vomit blood. Of course, if this matter happened to the crowd, they probably wouldn't be as calm as Fong Hun. No. Blood relationship. Looking at the madam, Fong Hun's face showed a trace of absent-mindedness. He even muttered to himself what Lin Rei said. "No, it's not like that. No, husband, you don't believe him. He's just afraid of your revenge. Don't believe that Xiao Yun is really your son. Seeing her husband so absent-minded and pale, the madam's heart thumped violently. Fear emerged from the bottom of her heart. As Fong Hun's wife, she knew very well that if it was any other matter, perhaps this matter would be very easy to deal with. However, there was one thing about Fong Hun, and that was that he especially hated betrayal. If this matter was confirmed, it would be equivalent to her betrayal. What would he do? What would she do? Revenge? Do you think that a God Emperor cultivator would be afraid of my revenge after knowing that he's a divine sovereign? After regaining his senses, he looked at the madam and sneered. Just a moment ago, when he heard Lin Rei's words, he personally sensed it. However, at this moment, he finally proved that Lin Rei was right. That was because he didn't feel the slightest bit of resonance between their bloodlines from Fong Xiaoyun's body. What? God? God Emperor? How is this possible? How could he be a God Emperor? This. At this moment, the madam was truly afraid. Originally, she thought that the other party wasn't very strong and could still shirk responsibility. However, the other party was actually a God Emperor. This was completely unexpected. At this moment, she knew that the matter might have been exposed. What should she do? Sigh. I didn't expect that I, Fong Hun, would be troubled by this matter one day. Looking at the madam, Fong Hun's heart was filled with pain. He truly didn't expect that his wife would actually make him a cuckold. Furthermore, what made him even angrier was that the son that he had painstakingly raised had actually become someone else's son. No matter how strong Fong Hun's heart was, he still couldn't endure such a blow in the end. Gu Feng, go. Bring them out. While you're at it, search the entire city lord's mansion. Find someone whose bloodline resonates with Fong Xiaoyun's. If you find them, capture them as well. At this moment, seeing the struggle and hesitation in Fong Hun's eyes, Lin Rei was stunned for a moment. After a sigh, he said to Gu Feng, "Yes, this subordinate obeys." After receiving the order, Gu Feng appeared beside the madam and Fong Hun in a flash. Then, he brought them with him and instantly disappeared from the main hall. Seeing Lin Rei's actions, Fong Hun's expression was filled with confusion. He didn't understand why Lin Rei was acting like this. This sovereign admires you. Seeing the confusion in Fong Hun's eyes, Lin Rei smiled. Then, he said, "This sovereign admires your character very much. Furthermore, your cultivation level isn't low either. If you submit to this sovereign can help you reach a higher level. You can even break through a realm that you can't even imagine. What do you think?" Chapter 844. Ugh, Fong Hun was stunned. How could he speak to Lin Rei in such a manner? He stared at Lin Rei blankly, not knowing what was wrong. Not only Fong Hun, but even Lin Rei's group was the same. They were a little puzzled by Lin Rei's decision. Although Fong Xiaoyun's matter had nothing to do with Fong Hun. In fact, Fong Hun was a little miserable. However, no one could figure out what Lin Rei saw in him, a monarch god realm cultivator. Of course, no one dared to object to Lin Rei's thoughts, nor did they dare to refute. They just stood there quietly and waited. How is it? This condition isn't open to just anyone. Think about it. Moreover, as he spoke, he looked at the situation around him, lowered his head, and continued. You are a person who focuses on cultivation. I can see that. How much do you think you have achieved here? How long will it take for you to break through to the Emperor realm? Moreover, the lifespan of an Emperor realm cultivator is limited. Do you think you can live as long as the heavens and earth? As he spoke, Lin Rei paused for a moment. Think about it carefully. I will give you time to think about it. 3 days. I will only give you 3 days. I will stay in the city for 3 days. I believe it won't be difficult to find me in the future. After 3 days, I will leave. I will not wait for you after that. Think about your original intention and see what you want. Is it this wasted position or the pursuit of the peak of the Tao? As he spoke, he looked at his disciple behind him and smiled. Little you, Let's forget about this matter. I believe Fong Hun will know how to deal with it. Let's go. Hearing this, Lin Wan Yu could only nod. Yes, master. Let's go. After he finished speaking, he ignored Fong Hun, who was standing there in a daze, and walked out. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sound pierced through the air. It was Gu Feng who left when Lin Rei arrived at the entrance of the hall. When he saw Lin Rei, Gu Feng stopped, cupped his hands, and nodded. Young master, this subordinate has completed the matter you asked me to do. And as you expected, in the city lord's mansion, we found a man, it seems. As he spoke, Gu Feng couldn't help but look at Fong Hun, who was still in a daze. He then slowly said, It seems to be the city lord's mansion's butler. This subordinate repeatedly confirmed that Fong Xiaoyun is indeed the butler and Mrs. Han's son. And, hearing Gu Feng's report, Lin Li nodded. All right, got it. You can leave now. Yes. As he spoke, Gu Feng retreated behind Lin Rei and didn't speak. The hall fell into silence again. Turning his head, he looked at Fong Hun. Lin Li's heart was filled with sighs. It seemed that this was a fatal blow to Fong Hun. But of course, Lin Li trusted that Fong Hun would definitely be able to recover. After all, Lin Li could sense his Dao art. When he saw Fong Hun, Lin Li knew that Fong Hun had the heart to become a powerhouse. It was because of this heart that Lin Li had the idea of subduing him for his own use. Looking at him, Lin Rei comforted him. I'll leave this matter to you. As for the specifics, it's your family's matter. But remember, I'll only give you 3 days. As he spoke, he seemed to think of something. With a thought, he took out an empty bottle from his interspatial ring and threw it to Fong Hun. This pill should be able to help you break through the middle stage and enter the late stage. It's your compensation. At this moment, in the hall, Fong Hun came back to his senses and subconsciously reached out to catch the pill. He looked down and revealed a strange expression. Let's go. He didn't say anything else. Lifting his feet, he walked out. This time, Lin Li really did leave. He didn't look back. Lin Rei didn't want to guess about Fong Hun, but Lin Rei still hoped that he could submit to him. This way, perhaps one day in the future, he would become one of his generals. AI. Is the heavens playing with me? Why are they doing this to me? Where's my beautiful wife? Where's my son? Why did it become like this? My wife had an affair with the butler behind my back, and my son isn't even his. More importantly, he had raised Fong Xiaoyun to this age. Even though he wasn't his biological son, he had raised him. It would be a lie to say that he didn't have any feelings for him. At this moment, Fong Hun was in a difficult situation. He didn't know what to do with his wife and son. Of course, this was only for his wife and son. As for the butler, Fong Hun wouldn't be merciful. Thinking about this, a trace of killing intent rushed out of his eyes, and he said, Men. Haka. Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard. A young man wearing armor walked in from outside the door. When he saw Fong Hun, he suddenly knelt on the ground and said, Subordinate Lu Yun greets the city lord. I wonder what orders the city lord has for this subordinate to come here. Lu Yun. Hearing the young man's report, Fong Hun paused for a moment before coming back to his senses. He didn't think too much and said, Go and bring the butler, madam, and Xiao Yun here. Hearing this, Lu Yun was startled, but he quickly said, Yes, this subordinate will do it right away. Saying this, Lu Yun got up and rushed outside. Looking at Lu Yun's disappearing figure, Fong Hun felt powerless. He was no longer the tall, mighty, and intimidating city lord from before. Thump, thump, thump. Fong Hun took a few steps back and sat down on a chair powerlessly. At this moment, Fong Hun was paralyzed, and his face was filled with sorrow. Not long after, Lu Yun returned, and he brought the butler, his wife, and son. Looking at the people outside, Fong Hun forced himself to calm down and said, Come in. Yes. Hearing this, Lu Yun brought the 3 people into the hall and threw them on the ground. He tactfully retreated to the side and didn't say anything. Seeing Lu Yun like this, Fong Hun was stunned for a moment, but then he felt relieved. He shifted his gaze to his wife, son, and housekeeper. Looking at them, A murderous aura swept past Fong Hun's eyes and disappeared in an instant. AI, tell me, did this lord not treat you well? Why did you betray this lord? And this child is not this lord's. Why didn't you say so earlier? If you had said so earlier, perhaps this lord wouldn't be like this now. And perhaps I would have let your family leave. You, looking at his wife, Han Shi, Fong Hun powerlessly spoke. It could be seen that Fong Hun cared a lot about Han Shi. You think we left? You didn't treat me badly? Fong Hun, who are you trying to fool? Hearing this, Han Shi's heart seemed to be touched. Her face became slightly angry as she roared at Fong Hun. I've been married to you for hundreds of years, and although you treated me very well and let me enjoy a life that all women would envy, but you have to know that I am a woman, and I cannot live without you. But what about you? Other than cultivation, all I do is cultivate. Have you ever thought about me? Have you ever thought about how I lived? In the family, I was afraid that those gossipy people would find out, so I rarely went back. As she spoke, tears gushed out of Han Shi's eyes. It was as if this matter was an eternal wound to her. Hearing his wife's words, Fong Hun was stunned. His expression was filled with difficulty. He did not think that this would bring her harm. Moreover, cultivation. The reason why he worked so hard to cultivate wasn't at all for the sake of letting them live a good life. If he did not have powerful abilities, how could he have sat on the position of the city lord? If he did not have powerful abilities, how could she wear gold and silver and not have to worry about food and clothing? If he did not have powerful abilities, how could he protect his family? At this moment, hearing his wife's words, Fong Hun was a bit unable to accept it. What you said is only an excuse for you to betray this lord. As he spoke, Fong Hun sighed and then turned his spear to point at the trembling housekeeper. Looking at him, a shocking, murderous aura rushed out of his body and locked onto him. You're very good. I did not think that after all these years, this lord would personally raise an ingrate. Fong Hun's heart was filled with regret towards the housekeeper. If I had known earlier, I would not have saved you from the wolves. Now, saying this, Fong Hun closed his eyes and a tear flowed out from his eye. His face was filled with grief. Silence. No one spoke. Hearing this, Liu Yun's heart was filled with shock. He did not think that such a shocking thing would happen today. Sigh. The scene was broken by Fong Hun's sigh. He recovered from his grief and wiped away the tears on his face. Liu Yun, take the housekeeper away. Take good care of him. Do not let him die early. As for the rest, do as you deem fit. Yes, this subordinate obeys. Liu Yun did not want to accept this order. After all, this had already touched on the city lord's family matters. However, he could not do anything about it. In the end, he accepted it. After responding, Liu Yun went forward and grabbed the housekeeper's hand. After bowing to Fong Hun, he left. Seeing Liu Yun leave, Fong Hun slowly got up and went to Han Shi's side. Looking at her, Fong Hun did not say anything. He sighed and then raised his hand to slap Han Shi's head. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. At this moment, Han Shi was completely stunned. Her expression was filled with disbelief and regret. Sigh. With a sigh, he left Han Shi's side and went to Fong Xiaoyan's side. Looking at the unconscious Fong Hun, he raised his hand to deal with him. However, the instant he raised his hand, the memories of the past appeared in his mind. Regarding this, he hesitated. Forget it. With a sigh, he turned and left. In the end, he did not have the determination to deal with Fong Xiaoyan. As the saying goes, if you can't play, you won't be annoyed. Since Han Shi was already dead, this matter was over. Ignoring it, he turned and left the hall. Liaoyuan City, in a restaurant for guests from afar, Lin Rei and the others came out of the city lord's residence and stopped in front of the door. Is this the restaurant that Bai Qi and Ming booked? It looks pretty good. It is indeed not bad. Ing agreed with a happy smile. Let's go. He nodded and agreed. Then he walked into the guests from afar. Do you want to eat or stay here? Right at this moment, as soon as Lin Li entered the restaurant, a waiter walked over from afar, and a classic sentence entered the ears of Lin Li and the others. Looking at the waiter, Lin Ray smiled and said, "Someone has already booked it." "Oh." The waiter nodded. "Since that's the case, please take a seat. There are so many of you here." It's a bit, okay. Understanding the waiter's intentions, Lindley smiled awkwardly and walked towards an empty area. Even though there were many people, they were still able to sit down. Seeing this, no one was too reserved. After Lin Ray sat down, they also sat down. "Waiter, look at the number of people. Let's order your signature dishes and open the restaurant. That's all. If there's nothing else, you can leave," Lin Ray said. "Okay." Hearing that the customer ordered so many dishes, the waiter was naturally happy and left immediately. Phew! Letting out a long breath, a smile appeared on his face. "Xiao Yu, this time, the main purpose of your trip here is to train. Thus, Master is going to give you a mission. Do you dare to accept it?" At this moment, looking at his eldest disciple, Lindley opened his mouth and asked, "What is it, Master?" At this moment, Lin Wanyu, who had been bored to death, suddenly became interested. She had come here to increase her cultivation level, and Lindley's actions were exactly what she wanted. It's simple. This time, the Rain Sect is involved. Therefore, your mission is to challenge the Rain Sect. How about it? Do you dare to accept this mission? Challenge the Rain Sect? At this moment, Lin Wanyu was stunned. She wasn't as excited as before. After this incident, she understood that the Rain Sect was a super sect here. There were many supreme gods and a few supreme gods in the sect. With her current cultivation, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to make it out alive in the end. Understanding Lin Wanyu's thoughts, Lin Ray smiled and said, "Don't worry. If you want to go, you won't be alone. I will send Bai Qi and Dianwei with you. At that time, you just have to do what you need to do. Don't worry about anything else. No one will be able to disturb you." Hearing this, Lin Wanyu, who was originally hesitating, immediately became determined and agreed. "Okay, I promise, Master. Then when do I act?" Seeing her change, Lin Ray was stunned. Then he understood. "After this meal, you can act whenever you want. Bai Qi and the others will follow you." "Okay, I understand." She nodded and didn't say anything else. This matter was taken care of. However, Lin Ray didn't stop there. Instead, he said to his second disciple, "Shui Yuan, you go to the Sword Sect. I will also send Tian Yun and Ming Ming to follow you." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.